After two back-to-back banger entries into the Saints Row franchise, Volition had no choice but to make a third game in the series titled Saints Row the Third. The Saints were back and the hype for this game was insane, mainly due to the overall marketing that went into SR3 with real-life mascots of Professor Genki, bobblehead, Saints Row the Third sneakers, a phenomenal CG trailer featuring Power by Kanye West, the list goes on.
It's a challenge I went through Pimp College. I just had a new Pimp orientation. I'm getting my Pimp PhD. My doctorate in pimping, and I'm doing a lot with it, so get me my money.
And it's safe to say that the marketing that went into this game paid off, as it became the best-selling game in the entire franchise, selling over 4 million copies in the first few months of its release, making it a huge commercial success. But despite the great sales, many fans of the previous titles disliked this entry for the many changes Volition brought to the table, trading in a somewhat grounded, realistic gangster simulator with moments of B-movie action for a wacky, nonsensical open world game that will just make anyone say, what the fuck? These changes were mainly due to the criticism the previous titles received, as many labeled Saints Row as just another GTA clone. So to move away from the clone allegations and find Saints Row its own original identity, even though you could argue it already had that, especially with SR2, Volition decided to just dive headfirst into the goofier side of Saints Row and make the comedy and silliness the vocal point of its identity moving forward, causing a huge split in the fanbase. While some loved Saints Row the Third for what it was, some hated it, and I mean they really hated it, to the point where some claim that the third game is where the franchise started its downfall. But if I'm being truly honest, it's a great Saints Row title and is definitely better than most people remember. Anyways, let's check back in with the Saints and take a deep dive into Saints Row the Third.
Super excellent!
Just like Saints Row 2, SR3 has its own various collector's editions, with one of them titled Saints Row the Third Platinum Pack, which contains the game, of course, the soundtrack, and finally an exclusive Saints Row headset. But it's not just any ordinary headset, as it includes a vocoder voice feature on the microphone, inspired by the Pimp Zemos, who is featured in the game. Oh yeah, and I also own the SR3 Studio Edition guide too, which is pretty cool. But that's not all, as in the dreaded year of 2020, Saints Row the Third was remastered, which, quote, improved on the graphics, lighting, and character models, but many could argue that this remaster was unnecessary and actually downgraded the models, making them look very strange to say the least. Also bringing its own plethora of bugs and glitches, which in turn leads me to believe that this was a complete money grab like most remasters are, especially with it being one of the most successful entries in the entire franchise. It truly didn't need a remaster at all, as the original 2011 release still holds up to this day, and personally, better graphics doesn't really mean anything to me. Either way, it's the same game. But along with the remaster of Saints Row the Third, the Nintendo Switch received a port of the game in 2019, which featured its own goodies, which included double-sided lithographs, a microfiber screen cloth, an A2 double-sided poster, thumb grips, and sticker sheets. The sticker sheets also featured the Ronin logo too for some weird reason, despite them not even being featured in the game whatsoever. I don't know if it's complete laziness or just an oversight, but it's still really weird. But that's not all that's weird, as when we start the game, we're met with an introduction reminiscent of the Star Wars franchise, which explains what the Third Street Saints have been up to since the second game, going from a street gang to a media empire, with both Johnny Gat and Shawnee becoming pop culture icons, even having a Saints movie in development. But not only that, we get a first-hand look at one of their products for a Japanese Saints Row advertisement featuring the one and only Pierce. It looks like he's fully tapped into his love for Neo with his new look, which I actually dig more than his previous look. But yeah, this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the outrageous stuff this game has to offer. Taking us to the Stillwater Bank, where the gang is gearing up for a bank robbery, along with an actor by the name of Josh Burke, who is method acting for his new role in the Saints movie. I mean, what a better way to get experience as a Saint by literally becoming one alongside the Big Three.
I am a method actor. If I'm gonna play a Saint with any degree of emotional truth, I gotta make it real.
Trust me, Burke. It'll be real.
You're robbing a bank dressed like yourselves.
Hell yeah. Who doesn't want to be Johnny Gat? Ultra postmodernism. I love it.
I'm cool with the Saints movie, but do we really gotta drag this asshole actor around?
Cut Josh some slack. He's just researching his part.
Yeah, I hope he signed a waiver.
All right, people.
Nobody moves! Nobody dies!
Burke! Sorry, jumped his line. Can we go again?
You all know the drill.
Can I get a picture with the boss?
Say sleaze.
Get in line, bitch!
Hey, don't be a dick.
But you call yourself gangbangers? You're a bunch of pussies. We should be all up in their shit like, fuck!
Oh, that's different.
To be fair, Josh brought up a fairly decent point earlier, which is the fact they're dressing up as themselves to rob a bank. But I guess the Saints get bailed out of pretty much everything and anything, considering they're now celebrities, and I assume that Troy has helped them out a ton too, considering he is the chief of police in Stillwater. Either way, Gat launches a guy 50 feet into the air, and the squad head through the bank to find the vault, taking out a ton of guards along the way, while simultaneously trying to figure out who they're even robbing, as it's not guarded by the usual security guards you would see at a bank, but men dressed in red and black suits with a star logo and women in lingerie, trench coats and heels, clearly representing some type of gang. But that doesn't stop the Saints, as they have a job to do, eventually reaching the vault, but considering they're unable to crack it, it's time for plan B.
So, what's plan B? Huh? Drill it?
Fuck no. We blow it.
What?
So with the explosives in hand, the Saints head upstairs to plant them above the vault shortly before the boss signs an autograph for a fan, because they're celebrities, remember. But after the boss plants the explosives above the vault, Josh single-handedly makes the stupidest decision in the entire Saints Row franchise.
Hey guys, you can call up the helicopter. Found the way to open the vault.
Don't touch it!
Josh, are you trying to get us all jail time?
What? I don't want to be some dude's bitch.
Do I have to go after him?
Forget about it, he'll be fine.
Moments later, waves and waves of SWAT team pour into the building, forcing the trio to fight them off, whilst Josh runs away to wherever. Who knows and who cares? Considering we're on our first gunfight in Saints Row the Third, I think this is the perfect time to talk about the gunplay, which is fairly different to the previous games. A more modern, heavier feel, but still being arcadey and over the top. Even adding the feature of being able to actually ADS this time in the traditional third-person shooter way. But I will admit, I'm so used to the SR2 combat that I just chose not to ADS half of the time, which is a bold choice on my part. I definitely feel like this entry encourages fast-paced action and chaos over everything else, which is right up my alley. And I absolutely love the gun designs and sounds in this game, especially with the more wacky weaponry, but we'll get into that in a bit. After taking out a ton of the SWAT team, the chopper finally arrives to pick up the vault, and the boss, being the absolute maniac he is, decides to ride along with the vault to make sure they successfully complete the heist. Once again forcing the boss to take out waves of the SWAT team, along with an enemy helicopter that takes about 10 trillion bullets to put down. One thing I love about this fight with the SWAT is the fact that a police officer still asks the Saints for an autograph and claims his son wants to meet Shawnee, despite them literally robbing a bank, which just shows how their fame kind of overshadows the fact that they're literal criminals. But one thing that irks me about this section is that we don't really get to see the modern Stillwater in all its glory, which is a shame, and you'll quickly find out why. But I still would have enjoyed seeing how Stillwater evolved from the last game, bar from just a couple of buildings with Saints Flow advertisements, a hotel and a bank, but we always can't get what we want, can we? Anyways, after downing a chopper that nearly takes the boss out, he manages to jump back into the bank building, but is unfortunately surrounded by SWAT moments later, taking us to the Stillwater police station, where we customize our character. Despite having some brand new features compared to the last game, like having the ability to literally be a zombie straight out of Left 4 Dead, the overall player customization isn't as in-depth as the second game. It still has your classic features like hairstyles, taunts and whatnot, but the way your character walks, fighting style, all of that is just gone. But I guess we have Troy Baker as the male voice one now, so that's cool. Overall, I find the player customization part of Saints Row the Third to be a lot more simpler, which I don't necessarily mind too much, but that's not saying I wouldn't have liked my character to be pimp walking around a brand new city. I think it's just okay, and that's about it. But what isn't okay is getting dashed into a cell despite being a goddamn media empire.
We paid up this month.
Someone paid more.
What happened?
We got arrested.
No, to us. Burke's right. We traded our dicks in for pussies. Seriously. Movie deals, commercials. Saint's name used to mean something more than body spray and some ass-tasting energy drink.
Our brand's worth a shitload of money.
Is that what it's all about?
It's always about the money, Mr. Gat, which is precisely why our employer wishes to speak with you.
If you'll indulge us.
You have any idea who you fucking with here?
Of course. A remarkable likeness. These visions are Viola and Kiki, and I am Philippe Laurent, chairman of a multinational organization called the Syndicate.
Never heard of it.
Evidently not, or you would not have robbed our bank. Perhaps you wonder why you are still breathing at this point.
Actually, I wonder why my foot's not up your ass at this point.
Like it or not, Mr. Gat, our organization is expanding into Stillwater. I am offering you the chance to leverage your assets against your lives. Ladies?
You may continue to operate the Saints Ultor Media Group as you see fit, in exchange for 66% of your monthly gross revenue.
That is before taxes, of course.
Listen, you French fuck.
Please. I am Belgian.
So make yourself a fucking waffle. We done here.
And I had so hoped to come to a rational business arrangement.
What the hell's going on?
Boss, you gotta bail!
No, not without you!
What, there's like half a dozen guys? I can take them.
What about the plane?
I'll fly it back to Stillwater.
Johnny, you can't even drive stick. How you gonna fly a plane?
Details, details. Just cover the boss. Go, I got this.
So whilst Gat fights off the Morningstar, one of the three main gangs within the Syndicate, the boss and Shawnee fight their way out of the plane, introducing us to the melee combat, which is more watered down and not as versatile as the last game considering there's only one fighting style, but damn, the QTE takedowns are so satisfying, and I mean satisfying. Like seriously, I could do these all day and not get bored, same with the running takedowns too. After fighting through the plane and taking out a ton of enemies along the way, the duo finally find a parachute and inform Gat that they're about to jump, which doesn't go too well.
Johnny, we're about to jump!
Right on. I'll see you in Stillwater.
Johnny?
With no time to mourn over Johnny, the duo get knocked out of the plane by the cargo, but luckily the boss had the parachute equipped, so he chases after Shawnee in one of the craziest freefall missions I've ever played, dodging debris and taking out enemies mid-air till he eventually catches Shawnee, but their reunion is cut short as the boss comes up with the bright idea to head back into the plane to hopefully take out the leader of the Morningstar, Loren, throwing Shawnee and shooting the windshield. The boss has to be the most badass but most insane character in any form of media, I swear. The boss once again free falls whilst fighting off multiple enemies, eventually catching Shawnee and landing safely in the brand new industrial city of Steelport. And Loren wastes no time in making the Saints' arrival as difficult as possible.
Gentlemen, negotiations were less than successful. Viola and Kiki will spread the word. Steelport belongs to the Syndicate, and the Saints are not welcome. Mr. Kilbane, gather your luchadores and bring me their leader's head. Mr. Miller, hack into the Saints' accounts and leave them nothing.
So yeah, as you can see, there's not three separate gangs this time around, but three gangs working together, which makes the threat much bigger than simply taking down each gang at a time in different areas of the city. I also appreciate the fact that we enter the open world with our bank accounts drained, as the game would be piss easy having millions to our names, so it's a nice touch, especially with there being a reason to our newfound broke status. Anyways, the boss steals a nearby car whilst Loren taunts him about Gat's death over the phone, which doesn't sit well with Shawnee at all. Wanted to take out Loren ASAP, as she's clearly grown some attachment to Johnny over the years, and has moved on from the laid-back stoner dreadhead chick phase that she had in SR2 to a more stressed out, angry, give no fucks type of woman, which is either a plus or a negative depending on which type of Shawnee you like more. Of course, I prefer the laid-back stoner version, or fun Shawnee as they like to call her, but I don't mind the change up in her character considering the Saints' newfound fame and the evident grief she feels over Johnny's death. And speaking of Johnny Gat, god damn what a stupid move that was, killing off the most beloved character besides the boss themselves. An incredibly ballsy move to pull to, I guess, make it a more hard-hitting introduction into this sequel and make way for the new roster of characters. I don't even know. At least they gave us the option to hang out with Zombie Gat despite him not being much of a talker. Anyways, considering the boss needs a weapon, he uses the GPS to set a path to a nearby friendly fire and drives over to the store. The driving in SR3 is definitely some of the most enjoyable driving out of a lot of open world games I've played, especially with the drifting mechanic allowing you to pull off crazy drifts around corners and the range of vehicles that you can play around with. It's definitely more fluid this time around with both the driving and flying, but the nostalgia part of me just wishes that they kept with the original car controls, using the A button to drive instead of the right trigger, but that's just nostalgia speaking. And on the topic of nostalgia, the city of Steelport is no Stillwater and is inferior in many ways. But revisiting Steelport after all these years, I found a new appreciation for it, despite it feeling more like a copy-pasted sandbox made for chaos and destruction rather than a real city with diversity compared to Stillwater, which kind of works for a more fast-paced linear style of game that SR3 is. Steelport definitely has its own vibe to it, a dirty, grimy vibe, but a vibe nonetheless. Not to mention the neon lights and billboards look absolutely gorgeous at night. The biggest thing Steelport is missing though is the variety in NPCs, but I guess now you could come across furries in the street and slap them up. On the way to friendly fire, Shawnee informs the boss that she sent a text to Pierce and that he's bringing the crew to Steelport, so we have to raid the guard armory because how else is the crew gonna get their hands on some brand new weaponry? And speaking of weaponry, the boss arrives at friendly fire, purchasing a new upgrade for his pistol. The weapon upgrades in SR3 are quite fun to play with, especially when you purchase the final levels, as they add their own unique abilities to the specific weapon, like the SMG applying fire damage or the pistol bullets exploding on impact, which just shows exactly how Volition prioritized fun over realism this time around, also with the insane weapons you can use, such as a gun where you can spawn in a shark to eat your enemies or a giant purple bat. Yeah, I'm being serious. This is the only game where you could dress up as a panda and beat people with a purple bat. My one gripe with the weapon upgrades though is the fact that you can't revert any of the final upgrades you make, so if you don't like an upgrade, then tough titty. You're forced to rock with it for the duration of your playthrough, which could be pretty annoying for some people when it comes to the flashbangs specifically, as if you fully upgrade them, they become farts in a jar. Funny, right? Yeah, farts are funny. Oh yeah, and unfortunately the grenades replace food consumables this time around, being a more convenient way of using them, which is honestly one of the biggest issues that this game has. All I want to do is eat a burger, man, like the good old days, but you know, again, we can't have what we want, specifically me, because that's all I want. With the brand new gun upgrade, the boss and Shawnee quickly head over to the guard armory, and once they arrive, they take out a few guards and locate the weapons cache that contains Predator missile drones, and for some reason, Shawnee knows exactly what they are. I assume she plays way too much Call of Duty. My type of girl, seriously, my type of girl. Anyways, after holding their position for God knows how long, Pierce finally pulls up with the rest of the crew, saving the duo from the incoming military guards, but now it's time for them to return the favor as tanks start moving in to take out the crew's choppers whilst they gather the weapons and a huge arse bomb. So the boss uses the Predator missiles to take the tanks out with ease. It's kind of funny that they give you access to one of the most overpowered weapons in the game so quickly. I mean, thank you, I guess. After taking out the tanks, the boss hops in Pierce's chopper to protect the bomb from waves of enemy helicopters whilst they fly over to Shawnee's ex's crib. Of course, she has her ex's Steelport. It's Shawnee after all. Waves of enemy choppers destroyed later, they finally arrive at Shawnee's ex's apartment and gear up to settle into this newfound city, once again witnessing the complete switch up in Shawnee's character as she refuses to go back to Stillwater and is more than willing to take the fight to the Syndicate to avenge Johnny Gat. Whoa, why are there so many DLCs? God damn. Yeah, that's right, SR3 has a plethora of downloadable content to offer, from costume packs to weapons, with my most favorite being the Bloodsucker pack, as it replaces the usual takedown mechanic whilst using a human shield, to where the boss bites the neck of a victim, replenishing his health, which is kind of overpowered thinking about it, but it's still pretty cool because I rock with vampires heavily. There's also story DLC too, but we'll get into those later on in the video, and trust me, they're awesome. Now that we're officially in the open world of good old Steelport, I want to go over the new movement that has been completely overhauled from the previous game, which fits perfectly into the overall vibe of SR3 with the new rolling mechanic, so you can live out your dreams of trying to become Sonic the Hedgehog and failing miserably. Also, if you didn't know, the movement was actually intended to be more technically advanced, with a free running parkour system that they were developing and was actually featured in a beta trailer for the game, but I seriously couldn't imagine a Saints Row game with parkour. Would it have been cool? Sure, but I do enjoy the more simpler movement they went with, along with the brand new car hijack mechanic that is just so stupid but insanely convenient. No more having to wait to pull someone out of the car. Now you can just jump straight through the window, kick out the driver, and start driving. God, this game is so unserious and I love it. Anyways, to get settled into Steelport, Pierce suggests that he and the boss take a trip around the city to see what he has to offer. So they do just that after the boss picks up Pierce at a park, starting with heading to the nearest rim jobs to upgrade our car. And on the way, they do a reminisce about the past, with the boss bringing up when Gat took a shotgun shot to the leg against the Vice Kings. Honestly, I was quite surprised on how well the boss took Johnny's death. I mean, considering he's known him the longest, but we all know that the boss is a hard ass and is probably burying his guilt and sadness towards Gat's death. Once we arrive at the local rim jobs, we get introduced to the car customization in SR3, which is as good as ever. And you can tell they really wanted players to customize their rides this time around with the various modifications you can apply. Despite me resorting to using a lot of the wacky vehicles that I unlocked instead of pimping out a ride, but I will say I had a lot of fun customizing this vehicle, and it definitely competes with GTA 5's LS customs. Like, come on, you could equip spikes on your wheels that pop over vehicles' tires when driving by. That's just badass. With the brand new pimped out whip in hand, it's time to dress as good as the ride, so the duo head over to Planet Saints. Yeah, the 3rd Street Saints now own clothing stores too. To be honest, there's nothing that the Saints haven't made at this point. They're literally making a movie. After a short drive and car karaoke sessions singing What I Got by Sublime, they arrive at Planet Saints and the boss picks out a brand new outfit. Unfortunately, just like the character customization, the clothing customization has been stripped back, even removing layered clothing, which is quite disappointing. But I do love the over-the-top choices you have, considering the drastic tonal shift, which could definitely put a lot of people off, but for me, I've always liked the wacky side of this franchise, so I appreciate the various goofy outfits they decided to throw in this game. One thing I did forget to mention are the tattoos, as this is one of the only games out there to feature face tattoos, which is just amazing to me, as I love making my character somewhat resemble my IRL self, even though I do try to make my character 100 times cooler than I actually am. But the fact that they added face tattoos just means a lot to me, because I have face tattoos myself. And unlike SR2, you just earn a small amount of respect from purchasing clothes depending on the price, rather than earning style ranks for buying and wearing expensive clothes, which applied bonus respect. On the topic of respect, that too has been changed up this time around, which makes sense considering the 3rd Street Saints are a media empire now and don't really have anything to prove. But it also probably underwent the changes it did to appeal to our wider audience, such as the removal of requiring you to complete activities in order to gain respect to play through the story missions, which could be a positive or a negative depending on who you ask. For me though, I enjoyed the grind aspect to the first 2 games, as it felt great to play a story mission after grinding a ton of activities for respect. Also, wearing more expensive attire for a bonus, or even your own gang colors in the first entry. Whereas in the 3rd game, respect is mainly used to unlock higher levels to upgrade your character, whether it's unlocking new abilities like being able to pickpocket pedestrians, upgrade to your stamina, or even unlocking the ability to be immune to bullets. I'm not even joking. But the most annoying thing about player upgrades is not being able to revert them, as there's an upgrade to unlock dual pistols or SMGs, and if you select that upgrade, there is no going back. You're stuck dual wielding every version of that weapon type the entire game. But I love dual wield weapons, so it didn't bother me too much. With the new fit on, the boss heads outside and is greeted by a Morningstar ambush, introducing us to one of the most powerful enemies in this entire game, the Brute, which are muscular clones that have more brawn than brains and can easily annihilate you in seconds if you aren't careful. They're less intimidating as you move through the story though, as they're practically just straight bullet sponges and are more annoyances than anything, but they do try to shake up the Brutes a little bit with minigun wielding Brutes and flamethrower wielding Brutes. And just like the standard Brute, they're annoying too, but look, you get to perform a cool takedown every time you take them out. After that unwanted introduction to the incredible Hulk knockoffs, the duo head back to the safe house, which removes all notoriety. Yeah, that's right. If you have any type of enemy on your tail, from gangbangers to cops, you could just head inside a nearby crib or own store and your notoriety is wiped. Easy stuff. Sometime later, the boss calls up Pierce and it turns out he's located the Saints' new crib, considering the one they currently have is a load of crap. This new pad, however, is a penthouse downtown owned by the Morningstar, and because we're after Loren, what better way to hurt him than take his penthouse while the Morningstar are throwing some big party. So the boss quickly heads over to the airport to gear up to crash the party. Welcome to the most iconic mission Saints Row the 3rd has to offer.
Some assholes in my pool.
Why is it iconic, you may ask? Well, the boss parachutes his way onto the penthouse, crashing the party, all whilst Power by Kanye West is blasting in the background. I'm telling you, 90% of the people that played this game remember it from this one mission alone. Is that phenomenal? And the Power track clearly represents the overall vibe of this game game so well. On the topic of music, the original soundtrack for Saints Row the Third is awesome, especially the main theme of the game, but the radio stations on the other hand aren't as good as SR2's in my opinion, purely because it had more tracks from my childhood specifically, but that's not to say that they're bad in this game at all. It does include a lot of great licensed tracks, especially the ones that are used in the story missions. Anyways, the boss interrogates the Morningstar lieutenant for the code to the elevator to allow the Saints to join him on his penthouse takeover, and after obtaining the code, he fights his way to the storage room, lets in the Saints, and takes out the rest of the Morningstar in the penthouse. But unfortunately, Shawnee informs the boss that the crib is rigged to blow, and the lieutenant that rigged the explosives starts fleeing, so the boss quickly hops in a chopper and chases after him in one of the longest chase sequences known to man. Like seriously, why is it so long? Till he reaches some sort of hideout where the boss interrogates the lieutenant, asking him which wire needs to be cut to defuse the bomb, and of course it's the red wire. It's always the red wire. With the bomb defused and the new penthouse belonging to the Saints, the Syndicate have a brief meeting after this evident threat from the boss.
The Saints aren't going to back down.
Maddie, there's nothing to worry about.
My thoughts exactly, Mr. Kilbane. The Saints are no more than a white noise of empty threats.
With respect, sir. I'd say empty is no longer applicable.
Now that we're officially penthouse owners, let's talk about cribs and safe houses, which have unfortunately been downgraded, no longer being able to customize the interior design and only unlocking cribs through story progression, but we can still customize our gang's attire and vehicles. Oh yeah, and we can't replay cutscenes and missions like in SR2 either, which is a huge missed opportunity, as it forces the player to replay the entire story to play some of the most iconic missions once again. And I'm sure that not many people would do that considering the glorified activities disguised as missions that are mandatory to move the story forward. With that out of the way, the boss meets back up with Pierce, and it turns out that he's found some safety deposit keys belonging to the Syndicate, so he's curious on what they might find in the safety deposit boxes. So whilst Pierce locates the boxes, we're forced to protect him using an RPG and a sniper, ultimately being the activity Guardian Angel, with more variety this time. Yeah, you heard that right, the Guardian Angel activity. So Volition decided it was time to make a good chunk of the story missions glorified activities that are required to move the story forward, having little relevance to the story other than settling into Steelport and gearing up to take on the Syndicate's various gangs, which makes these quote missions more tedious than enjoyable. But I guess Volition wanted everyone to at least try the activities, but forcing the player to do so just bloats the game even more for no real reason. As I said before, you don't have to gain respect to play missions, which could be seen as a good thing for a lot of people that don't indulge in the side content in games, but as someone that actually appreciated the side activities in the other Saints Row games, I see this as a huge downgrade. But it doesn't really matter, as most of the main story missions, bar from these ones, are insanely enjoyable and memorable, so it definitely distracts me from the lack of side content. Anyways, after protecting Pierce, he calls the boss up to inform him that Auto have dropped off some Saints merchandise for them to sell, but instead of letting the PR department handle it, Pierce suggests they head out themselves and sell the merchandise to their fans, which is just the old school trafficking activity where you protect the dealer whilst making various deliveries and taking out buyers who don't pay, you know, the usual. With the deals finished, Pierce informs the boss that if they're gonna start making money, then they'll need a business, so he suggests that they use the deed he acquired from the security deposit box, I assume, to purchase one of the Morningstar stores, so they do just that, purchasing the local Friendly Fire gun store, which gives you access to a discount at said store, also earning you a certain amount of money per hour that you can pay out through the banking app daily. With the gun store purchased in the Saints' name, the boss collects a crate of blow-up dolls? I mean, what is a video game without its fair share of collectibles? So there's blow-up dolls, money pallets, photo ops, and drug packages scattered across Steelport to collect and engage in, with the blow-up dolls being Pierce's biggest hobby. Of course it is. Anyways, it turns out that there's another deed for an apartment building that the Saints can purchase to turn a profit from the real estate, so the duo head over there, purchasing a brand new property, also earning us a couple more dollars every hour. Considering the Morningstar are all over Steelport doing deals and just being the criminals that they are, the duo head over to one of the Morningstar locations, introducing us to gang operations, which are scattered across the map and consist of a group of enemies that you have to take out. That's it. Kind of pointless to be honest, but whatever. With the group of gangbangers taken care of, the boss heads back to the purchased Friendly Fire to lower his notoriety. I kind of miss Forgive and Forget, I can't lie. Sometime later, Pierce contacts the boss once again, but this time he's located a route that the Morningstar used to deliver their goods, so the boss grabs a literal tank and causes mayhem. Yep, another activity obviously titled Tank Mayhem, where you destroy things and eliminate high value targets to reach your property damage score before the time runs out. A small twist on the usual mayhem with the usage of a tank, but don't worry, the traditional activity is still in this game. Now that we've caused a little bit of mayhem, Pierce informs the boss that he's been personally selected for a game show called Professor Genki's Super Ethical Reality Climax. So with nothing better to do, the boss attends the game show, which turns out to be right up his alley because it involves murder, and more murder. Racking up cash for every mascot kill and using bonuses for stuff like extra health and cash, all with a time limit and combo meter. Introducing us to the brand new Professor Genki activity, which is easily the best activity in this entire game. Like seriously, they cooked so hard with this one. So much so that they decided to make a whole DLC dedicated to it, bringing even more fun activities, but I'll obviously go over that when we get around to it. After winning the game show, the boss meets up with Pierce at a bar called the Broken Shillelagh, and the boss has had enough messing around with Loren, wanted to finally take him down, but of course, they have no clue where he's located, despite him probably being in the huge ass skyscraper in the middle of the city like a true villain. Either way, a huge skyscraper isn't enough to convince the boss that Loren is chilling there, so Pierce suggests they head to Powder, a designer gun store, as a few Morningstar goons were talking to the owner there. So with that good lead, the boss, Pierce, and Shawnee hit up Powder, and whilst the boss and Pierce argue about the amount of guards, Shawnee has enough of their bickering and grabs the pistol off the boss, shooting the guards. I kinda like how badass they made Shawnee compared to the damsel in distress she was in the last game, but that whole damsel in distress thing doesn't really change in this game either, and you'll see why. Anyways, the trio fight their way through the warehouse, taking out a couple of the most annoying enemy types in this game, the snipers, as they can literally endgame you in seconds if you're not careful, so you're gonna be wanting to take them out first. Also taking out a minigun brew. What the hell is she doing? The trio finally reach the manager's office, but unfortunately they're nowhere to be seen. So Shawnee casually hacks the computer to find info on Loren's location, and after fending off waves and waves of Morningstar goons, Shawnee finally hacks the computer, and lo and behold, Loren is in fact hiding out in the huge tower in the middle of the city. So the team gear up to blast their way through the tower to finally avenge Johnny and walk out the penthouse like absolute badasses. Loren is not ready for the wrath of the 3rd Street Saints, I can tell you that. On the way to the Syndicate Tower, we see truly how much Shawnee wants to take out Loren, as she is constantly checking her gun for some reason. Eventually, the trio arrive at the tower, being greeted by a couple of Morningstar goons that are quickly dispatched off. Remember the bomb from earlier that they stole from the military? Well, it's finally coming to good use as the boss arms the bomb before they head up the tower. Why? For fun, I guess? Like, what? Why would you do that? So they only have 60 minutes on the clock to cap Loren and get the hell out of there before the tower is shown as a sign that the 3rd Street Saints are here to stay and are taking over Steelport. The trio head up the elevator and fight through some type of strange factory where the Syndicate are making the brutes using cloning, which makes sense considering how many of them we fought already. Cloning is a concept that the devs were originally going to move forward within the next game, but was of course scrapped, and don't worry, I'll be going further into detail about that in the inevitable SR4 video. After taking out all the Morningstar in the factory, the trio come across the individual that the Syndicate are using to clone the brutes.
What the hell is all this?
Philip likes his things custom made, and for his brutes, I am the master pattern, you see.
Why you still strung up if they already cloned your ass?
The copies are flawed. They have my brawn, but not my brain. I can help you.
The last time a big naked dude said he could help me, it did not end well.
What could he do anyway? Those wires and shit are probably keeping him alive.
Trust me, I'm still strong enough to kill Philippe.
You want some clothes, man?
No time.
Man, like I said, last time a big naked dude.
Thank God he's on our side. The trio follow Oleg up to Loren's office, and on the way we learn a little bit more about Oleg Kurlov. Well, the main thing being he hates the Syndicate as much as us. After a few minutes of Oleg slowly running up the stairs, like seriously bro, it's taking way too long, the Saints locate Loren, but unfortunately they have the worst aim to ever exist, and Loren escapes in his express elevator, but the boss isn't gonna let him get away that easily, and hops on a chandelier of some kind, I guess, to crush Loren at the bottom of the tower. So Oleg breaks the cables, and whilst falling, the boss takes out a brute trying to hitch a ride, but he clearly didn't understand that this is a one-person ride. Honestly, Loren was a huge missed opportunity as a villain, and it's kind of cheap killing him off so early and in that exact way. No real confrontation, just splat. That's it. Anyways, we now have our first of many choices in Saints Row the Third. Disarm the bomb or destroy the building, which gives you different rewards. A permanent respect bonus or a permanent cash bonus. Of course, I destroyed the building. I mean, that's what we was here for in the first place, so it will be stupid not to. Sometime later, the Saints head back to Stillwater to give Guy his funeral, but unfortunately, as they cross the huge memorial bridge, they're stopped in traffic as the wife of Richard Hughes from the first game, Monica Hughes, is holding a ceremony in memory of her husband.
When I left Stillwater for the Senate, I vowed never to forget my hometown roots. My husband gave his life defending Stillwater from gang violence. It is my greatest privilege to honor him with this bridge.
What the...
Time for the high spot, boys.
Whoever this crew is, they flow pretty damn good. They're Killbane's thugs.
Kill who?
He's the Syndicate's attack dog.
What he did to Johnny's funeral. That's over the fucking limit.
He doesn't care about rules of engagement.
No rules? I could work with that.
You're not ready to fight the Syndicate.
Watch us.
Just relax, Shawnee. Alright, big man, what do you got?
There are others who hate the Syndicate as much as you do. I will take you to them.
Can you believe this? On my husband's bridge! No, I will not come down. I am heading back to the hill. Book an emergency session. God damn it, this is war.
Officially introducing us to the Luchadors, another gang within the Syndicate ran by Killbane, a wrestling champion, with his gang focused on distributing steroids and managing gambling operations, being heavily inspired by the wrestling culture, dressed in masks and wrestling gear. Just like the brute enemies, the gangs within the Syndicate have their own specialist enemies, so the Luchadors themselves have annoying grenade launcher wielding specialists, and when I say annoying, I mean annoying. Anyways, like Oleg mentioned, there are other people that hate the Syndicate. I mean, what is a Saints Row game without recruiting 3 new lieutenants? Especially in a city we're not too familiar with. So back in Steelport, the boss Pierce and Shawnee head over to a barge to rescue a nerdy ex-FBI agent named Kinsey Kensington, as she's kidnapped by the third and final gang, the Deckers, for trying to out the Syndicate, and of course, Shawnee is a little jealous that the Saints are getting a new girl on the team. Despite Shawnee's annoyance, the trio arrive at the barge, being introduced to the final gang, the Deckers. The third gang within the Syndicate, ran by a tech nerd named Matt Miller, focused on money laundering and hacking, overall being more of a futuristic high-tech gang, even being dressed up as goth cyberpunks, and including cyber specialists that use futuristic roller skates to zoom around and either wield a large energy hammer or SMGs, but they're pretty easy to come up against. Oh yeah, and the Deckers are British too. Gotta love the Brits, man. After shooting their way through a few Decker goons, the trio rescue Kinsey, and she's way too calm for someone who just got kidnapped, but whatever, at least we finally have someone that knows their way around the computer to, well, probably too much. So with Kinsey rescued, it's time for the second character to recruit, Zemos. A pimp that uses a golden microphone with auto-tune to speak, donning his signature pimp attire, but unfortunately, it's not going to be too easy to recruit into the Saints as Kinsey informs the boss that the De Winter sisters, Viola and Kiki, are keeping Zemos at a BDSM club called Safe Word as they specialize in prostitution, and Zemos was their competition. So with no time left to lose, the boss and Pierce head over to Safe Word whilst Kinsey locates the third and final person that will be willing to take the fight to the Syndicate. After a short drive, the duo arrive at the club, which is just, yeah, strange to say the least, as when the boss interrogates the patrons to find Zemos, one of them actually gets a little too excited from the threats. I mean, it's a freak club after all, so I'm not too surprised, and the club decor is an acquired taste, I must say. After getting no answers from the patrons whatsoever, the boss finds the owner of this strange establishment and interrogates him, finally learning the location of Zemos, and it turns out he's in the pony barn. I have no idea what a pony barn is, but I'm sure it's not something too out of the ordinary.
How we gonna find Zemos? Look for the cat in here who isn't excited to be eating a ball gag?
Or just look for the guy with a rhinestone Z on his back.
Fuck out of here, man. Oh, well, shit, that's convenient.
They went this way.
Oh, shit. We don't got time, Zemos. Mush!
Well, I was clearly wrong. So whilst Zemos literally pulls the pony cart, the duo take out the incoming Morningstar goons in a high-speed pony cart chase. It sounds insane when you try to put it into words like that. A few minutes of pony cart action later, they finally escape the Morningstar and free Zemos from his pony restraints.
Sorry about making you, pull us around.
This is a rescue, right? This ain't some elaborate setup for a gangbang.
Why you gotta put that image in my head, bro?
Oh, I'll go with rescue then. I would shake your hands, but them floors were a little sticky, if you know what I'm saying.
I'm good. Find a moist towelette or something. Hey, what's up?
I found the guy I was talking about.
Easily one of my favorite characters in the entire Saints Row franchise right there. Now that Zemos is rolling with the Saints, it's time for the third and final member to be added to the roster. An ex-champion wrestler named Angel De La Morte, who was actually Killbane's old tag team partner and absolutely despises Killbane, so he's definitely a perfect fit for the Third Street Saints. Fun fact, Angel is actually voiced by Hulk Hogan himself, which is pretty cool that they managed to have a real-life wrestler voice a character who is a wrestler. Anyways, Kinsey informs the boss that the Luchadors are currently attacking him at the gym as we speak, so the boss quickly heads over to the gym alongside Zemos, and when they arrive, they take out a couple of the Luchador thugs till Oleg pulls up just in time to assist them before heading inside the gym to find Angel. Once inside, we get introduced to the ex-wrestler still performing his signature moves, but before they can get down to business and recruit Angel to the Saints, more Luchadors show up, forcing the trio to protect Angel and fend off the incoming goons, with Oleg even confronting one of his own cloning offspring. With Angel successfully protected from the Luchadors, we switch over to the Syndicate, figuring out who will now be in charge, since Loren is, how do I put it, a pancake.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Philippe is dead, and we are at a crossroads. And the question is, who will lead the Syndicate to a new era?
Viola and Kiki were Mr. Loren's right hands.
I had someone else in mind.
Excuse me?
The Syndicate has to answer for what they did. And this time, we're taking the fight to them. Since we don't know Steelport, I brought in some people who do. This is Kinsey, Zemos, and Angel.
The barbarians are at the gate! We need a general, not an ambassador!
Calm down, Eddie.
What did you call me?
What would you like us to do, Killbane?
Something. Anything! Before I wonder why I keep you bookends around.
Talk to one of these guys, they'll have things for you to do. It's our time now. Let's get this shit started.
Definitely one of the best cutscenes in this game. The speeches in the Saints Row games are just iconic. Also, Killbane is easily the most intimidating villain in SR3, as we can clearly see with this cutscene, which is kind of funny considering Loren was the one being pushed in all of the marketing and he just gets killed off so quick, pushing Killbane as one of, if not the biggest threat in Steelport. Now that we're ready to put the hurt on the Syndicate and have recruited brand new lieutenants who are going to be more than helpful in taking over Steelport, of course they have some work they need our help help with. Starting with Zemos, who luckily knows where the Morningstar operates as he specializes in the pimping game. So the boss heads out to various locations to rescue hoes from the Morningstar and take them back to Zemos. Sounds familiar, right? Well, it's because it's just a snatch activity similar to the previous games. Yeah, that's right. All the quote work we do for the 3 lieutenants in Act 2 are just introductions to activities. So exciting, am I right? Anyways, after successfully collecting the hose for Zemos, he calls up the boss for more help as he needs to get the word out that he's back in business and deliver advertisements to the people of Steelport, which is just a trafficking activity. Yeah, we've done this already. The last and final job for Zemos has the boss acting as a driver for one of his girls, which is yet another past activity called escort, but fortunately for us, it's way easier than in SR2 and SR1. And just like the previous games, all you have to do is pick up a client, drive around whilst avoiding paparazzi, and fill up the pleasure meter whilst performing specific tasks for the client. With the Zemos task finished, the boss meets up with him and the two get into a short argument about fine art before the boss lets him know that he will contact him when he makes another move against the Morningstar for assistance. Next we have Angel, who informs the boss he needs to quote be ready if he's taking the fight to the luchadors and to meet him at the gym. So the boss quickly heads over there, and upon arrival we find out exactly what he means by be ready, by apparently making the boss experience the worst pain imaginable to harden him up, starting by playing in traffic, literally, introducing us to the insurance fraud activity, which is pretty much the same as in SR2. We ragdoll into traffic, racking up insurance settlement money, and using the adrenaline meter to pull off crazy combos. Pretty simple. For Angel's next test, he wants the boss to experience the heat that a fight with Killbane will bring, his words not mine, introducing us to the trailblazing activity, and I'm honestly glad they brought this one back from Saints Row 2 because it was definitely one of my favorites. Overall, trailblazing is a simple racing activity where you're on fire and race through checkpoints to beat the timer, gaining bonus seconds by destroying cars and taking people out. Now the second test is complete, it's time for the third and final test Angel has planned, which is a twist on the usual escort activity called Tiger Escort. Yeah, you heard that right, Tiger. We have to drive around a literal tiger, God knows where Angel got one of those, increasing your courage meter by keeping the tiger happy, all whilst animal control vans chase you, and the tiger scratching you every 5 seconds, making you crash. Honestly, this activity is hell and I do not like it one bit. Considering Angel could have easily got the boss killed by making him drive around a goddamn tiger, the boss confronts Angel at the gym, but it doesn't matter as we're apparently finally ready to face Killbane, so the boss lets him off with a warning this time. Finally, it's time to help Kinsey with the deckers, starting by moving boxes for her at her new place. Absolutely riveting. But whilst moving boxes, she informs the boss that she can't help it take down the deckers unless she has their location, and lucky for us, she made a video game that can pinpoint their location. Very smart indeed. Introducing us to cyberblazing, which is a twist on the usual trailblazing, as it's cyber as you can see, and it plays slightly differently as you have to race through the checkpoints whilst avoiding firewalls and hit the blue decker targets to gain extra bonus time. Definitely one of the more enjoyable activities this game has to offer. With the cyberblazing video game successfully finished, Kinsey has another task for us, which is to disrupt the Deckers Fence Company by causing carnage in the streets and destroying property, introducing us to the good old classic mayhem activity where you cause mayhem and rack up the property damage score. Unfortunately, moments later, Kinsey informs the boss that the Deckers have found her, so he quickly heads over to her location, and okay, yeah, it's just the Guardian Angel activity again, boring. After saving Kinsey from the Deckers once again, she lets us know that she needs to hack into each one of the Deckers networks, and of course, needs the boss to provide air support, introducing us to the classic heli assault activity, where we protect Kinsey from incoming Decker goons at various stops while she hacks the networks. Now that we've helped Kinsey with her monotonous tasks, the boss meets up with her at Smiling Jack, seeing firsthand how socially awkward she is, as she's literally sat under a table on her computer. I mean, that's my type of woman, to be honest. Lucky for us, all that work wasn't for nothing, thank God, as she lets us know that the Deckers are finally vulnerable enough to start making some real moves on them. Anyways, with all the tedious activity malarkey out of the way, we can finally get back to the real story, and by real story, I mean Shawnee calling up the boss pissed off once again, as apparently Pierce is throwing a party at the crib, so before she rips his head clean off, the boss quickly heads to the penthouse before that happens, and we witness Shawnee go off on Pierce and Zemos too, as she's clearly still mourning Johnny and finds Pierce throwing a party to be insanely disrespectful. One thing I don't understand is the fact the boss doesn't care as much as Shawnee. I mean, Johnny was supposed to be his best friend, his day one, and I haven't seen an inch of grief from this man this entire game. But again, the boss is a psychopath and a sociopath, so I shouldn't think on it too much. After Shawnee storms out, the boss and Pierce live it up and enjoy the party, but as Pierce gets a lap dance, the hooker grabs the pistol and goes to take him out before the boss realizes it's an ambush and saves Pierce, starting an all-out gunfight in the penthouse against the undercover hookers sent by the Syndicate. I mean, couldn't the Syndicate come up with something better than that? Clearly, they underestimated the Saints, but I guess that works in our favor as we easily take out the first wave of the assassins, protect Pierce, and take out a few snipers outside. With the snipers dealt with, the boss heads down to the maintenance room to restore the power to the penthouse shortly before Oleg contacts him to let him know that the party is a trap, which is way too late of a notice. Oleg has the worst timing known to man, I swear. Oleg also indirectly lets the boss know that enemy choppers are heading to the penthouse, so the boss quickly grabs an RPG and annihilates the incoming choppers, successfully putting a stop to the Syndicate's attack on the Saints, which doesn't sit too well with Killbane, as it was in fact Viola and Kiki's plan.
Hooker assassins?
They came highly recommended.
Ladies, it was a pretty shit plan.
Tell me something, Matt. Did you have a plan? How about you, Eddie? There's a reason Philippe left the thinking to us. We're done here.
Killbane!
Relax. You only need one of them. Viola, your sun is setting, but it's not too late. There's still time to grab Apollo's chariot and drive that fucker back across the sky. You feel me?
Yes, Killbane.
Apology accepted. Hey, I'll comp you a VIP faster murder brawl. That'll cheer you up.
Imagine snapping someone's twin sister's neck and just giving them VIP tickets to a wrestling match to compensate. Like, bro, Killbane is just ruthless and I love it. But I do wish that the sisters had more screen time before one of them got killed off. It's kind of similar to the Lorenz situation, where they really should have developed these characters a whole lot more. Considering it was kind of Zemos' fault that the party was a trap, as the girls came from his list, he has a plan to get back at the Morning Star and make it up to the boss. So the boss heads over to meet up with Zemos to see what he has in mind, also witnessing Monica's speech on gang violence and the launch of Stag, which we'll come to understand what that is later in the story.
And while no group has taken credit for the attack in Stillwater, we have ignored its root cause. Our uncontrolled media and the good soul to our children have fetishized gang culture and turned sociopathic madmen into heroes. No more! Those responsible for this act of terror will be found and held accountable. The Stag Initiative marks a milestone in taking back the streets of America.
The hell is the Stag Initiative?
If it's free porn for everyone, I am down.
So what's the lead?
Oh, I got you hooked up, Slim.
Very discreet.
That's an invitation to kick the Morning Star right in their collective pussy. They have it in auction tonight. Flash the card. You're in.
So what, I pretend to be an eccentric millionaire?
Kinda. I'm gonna auction you off as a sex slave.
Fuck that.
Oh, quit being a bitch and get in the van.
So the boss does what Zemo says, hops in the van, gets drugged, has his clothes taken away, and thrown into the club. What a way to start a mission. Whilst in his birthday suit and seeing triple, the boss fights his way to the collection room, disables the security, and with the security now disabled, he continues to fight for a ton of Morning Star to reach the security center whilst high on drugs. Which reminds me a lot of the Sons of Zombie mission from the last game, but unfortunately, it doesn't quite hit the same uniqueness and fun factor that mission did, as we've kind of already seen it before, and god damn, is the aiming annoying in this section. Anyways, the boss makes his way to the security center, disabling the security and freeing the hoes from their prison, also eliminating a few more Morning Star goons to finish off the job. Upon completion, this mission unlocks Safe Word as a stronghold, which is something I've failed to mention so far, as I pretty much just forgot. But overall, strongholds are quite similar to cribs, but are places that you can actually upgrade, which brings in more bonuses like respect and district cash per hour, and oh my god, do they look gorgeous. Like seriously, I wish we spent more time in these strongholds than the penthouse. But the penthouse is iconic, so I'm not too bothered. Oh yeah, and the required extra stronghold missions were removed this time around, so you just take over these specific strongholds through the story missions instead, being more simplified and streamlined like the majority of features in this game. With Safe Word now in the Saints' hands, the boss calls up Zemos to meet up with him for the next step in putting the hurt on the Morning Star before he's quickly interrupted by a phone call call from Viola herself, informing him that a shipment of girls are being brought into Steelport by the Morningstar, writing out the same gang that she runs, in turn wanting the syndicate to be destroyed, and I don't blame her, to be honest. She literally had to witness her own twin sister get sent to hell. With the info from Viola, the boss meets up with Zemos at the docks, and the two scope out the ship holding the cargo, finding out that Viola's info was valid, so all they need to do now is rescue the women on the boat, which will then destroy the Morningstar's operation for good. So with no time left to lose, the duo head over to the cargo ship, and the boss locates each one of the crates containing the hose, coming across some questionable shipments along the way. With all the prostitutes rounded up, the boss takes out the incoming Morningstar attackers so that the ship is clear for Pierce to get the girls to safety using the shipping container. This mission kinda reminded me of that One Brotherhood mission from SR2. Good times, good times. Once the container is attached to the chopper, Pierce flies back to the city, forcing us to protect the chopper using the Annihilator RPG, which is so fun to use, and I mean fun with a capital F. A few minutes of destroying enemy boats and choppers later, Matt Miller himself calls up the boss with a proposal. If he delivers the girls back to the Morningstar, he will receive a lump cash payout from Matt, showing his utter desperation to keep the Morningstar's operation going for the syndicate. But considering we went through all this trouble to retrieve the prostitutes in the first place, I chose to keep the girls for the Saints for an increased hourly cash income. If adult life has taught me anything, it's to never bargain with the enemy, and a frequent cash income is better than one singular huge cash payout. Of course, this attempt to bargain with the enemy doesn't sit well with Killbane.
What the hell were you thinking, Maddie?
It just seemed like a waste to lose all those girls.
I am the general. I'm the czar. I'm the walking apocalypse, and I make the decisions, not you!
My bad, mate. So what happens now?
Ah, we buckle down! We focus. We don't do a run-in, we hit him with a Montreal screw drop. Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Now listen up.
My esteemed colleagues, the time is now. We have deployed Stag to Steelport.
The boss calls up Oleg with his concerns about Viola helping them, not knowing if she can be trusted, so in order to ease his concerns, Viola suggests they meet up at the local park, and the boss brings along Oleg just in case anything kicks off.
I didn't realize you were a patron of the arts, Viola.
We never really had the chance to chat. What, with you being a science experiment?
I wouldn't piss off the big guy.
Look, I'm not here to fight. We need to work together.
Right. Johnny's dead because of you.
Johnny's dead because he thought he could do everything on his own.
So what's in it for you?
I get to watch Killbane suffer.
Can you play nice?
I am always gentleman.
What is that?
Nothing good. Let's go.
Ladies first.
Kia, status.
The Saints have taken cover with one of the De Winter sisters. We're about to move in.
Roger that. Contact me once you secure the area.
Yes, Commander.
Now that Stag is in town, it's about to get a whole lot more interesting and difficult. Unlike the usual enemies we've been facing this entire game, Stag has to be the toughest group of enemies besides the brutes, wearing beefy armor and equipped with laser rifles. Yeah, you heard that right, lasers. Also having some of the best vehicles in the entire game, tanks and jets. Unfortunately, the laser weapons aren't as fun to use as they look, and the usual weapons are far more superior. Anyways, the boss fights for a few Stag goons alongside Viola and Oleg to escape and reach the roof roof of the club, but once the trio get to the roof, Stag deploy even more soldiers along with jets, forcing them to survive the onslaught of Stag in a fairly intense rooftop battle against this brand new enemy faction. With Oleg's help, because he's a literal beast, the boss and Viola manage to escape the building and flee to the Saints HQ. On the way back, Shawnee informs the boss that Stag are all over Steelport, becoming a much larger threat than the Syndicate themselves. I mean, look at my vehicle, it's ruined. Only Stag could do something like that. Eventually, the duo arrives safely at the Saints HQ, successfully evading the attempted ambush by Stag, and we finally get introduced to the man behind the entire operation.
My name is Cyrus Temple, commander of the Special Tactical Anti-Gang Unit. I'm here to answer your questions about the Stag Initiative.
Excuse me, sir, one question, please. How long will Stag be occupying Steelport?
There is no occupation. We have the full support of Mayor Reynolds.
How will Stag impact our daily lives?
When we win the war on urban terror, you and your families will be safe again.
Sir, that's not what I asked.
Let me tell you about Jessica Parrish, a girl from Stillwater who ran away from home to be with her tough guy boyfriend. Jessica thought her life was pretty sweet, until a gangbanger kidnapped her, threw her in the trunk of a car, and laughed as her boyfriend crushed her in a monster truck rally. If Jessica Parrish was your daughter, how far would you want me to go? Thank you for your time.
I kind of forgot how unhinged the boss was in the last game. Anyways, the boss has a feeling that the Saints HQ may be compromised due to Stag's rising presence in the city, so he heads back to the hideout and cuts Oleg and Pierce's chess game short to move house. So whilst Pierce loads up the trucks, Oleg creates a distraction in the park, and the boss does the same by busting into a nearby Stag base, hijacking a VTOL and causing havoc at another Stag base to get their attention. Honestly, the VTOL in SR3 is amazing. I just love how easy it is to fly and switch modes from hovering and jet flying along with the laser and rocket weapons. Back in the day, I actually hated the Stag sections in this game, but replaying it once again, I found myself just loving these missions. Just the simplicity of blowing up vehicles with a VTOL will never get old. Unfortunately, whilst dealing with the Stag bases, the Saints convoy run into a roadblock, forcing the boss to fly over and clear it for them, successfully helping out the convoy. Now with Pierce and the Saints back on the move, the boss takes out 2 more Stag bases, but it turns out that Oleg is in trouble, so we quickly head to his location at the park, protect him from incoming Stag goons and save the day as per usual. But that's not all, as the boss also intercepts a surveillance aircraft and destroys it in order to take the heat off the Saints, in turn allowing the Saints convoy to get to safety. With the Saints move going smoothly, well, somewhat smoothly, we check back in with Stag to see how their promotional campaign is coming along.
I'm Joshua Burke. Hey, on TV I play Nightblade, an exceptionally good-looking but misunderstood vampire who risks life and limb every week to keep the world safe. The men and women of Stag put their lives on the line every day to protect your city against gang violence. Want to be a real-world hero? Talk to your Stag recruiter today. I know I have.
Nightblade's the face of Stag? Why don't you just put someone in a fucking deer suit?
Hearts and minds will win the war, my dear.
Shock and awe wins wars, Senator. Authorize the data list and this will all be over.
Absolutely not.
That kid's gonna get himself killed.
Will you ensure Josh Burke's safety, or I'll find someone who can. Understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Nightblade being the face of Stag ties neatly into the next mission, as Pierce, of all people, actually has a plan to hurt Stag and asks the boss to meet him at the comic store alongside Viola, and when they arrive, Pierce gets down to business. So pretty much the plan is to snatch Josh from the PR center whilst disguised as characters from the Nightblade TV show to blend in, and whilst Pierce explains the plan, a 3rd Street Saints superfan approaches the boss for his autograph, but the comic he wants him to sign turns out to be Johnny's comic, Gangsters in Space, that the boss had no idea about, which makes sense considering he's more into the shooting and killing side of the Saints. But damn, did the Saints sell out. It actually explains the short rant Gat had near the beginning of the game too. We also find out that the Saints Autor Media Group is making a film specifically based on the Gangsters in Space comic, as Johnny sold his likeness to them. And again, the boss isn't too happy about that. Anyways, dressed as characters from Nightblade, the boss and Viola head over to the PR center, and on the way there, Viola expresses her concerns on whether Josh is even at the center, but the boss quickly reassures her that Pierce's info is good, as if he wasted his time whatsoever, Pierce knows he'd get an ass whooping. I honestly love the dynamic between Pierce and the boss in each game, except from the first one obviously, because he's not even in that one. After a short drive, the duo arrive at the PR center and head up an elevator to find Josh.
I'm Nightblade. I have no fear. I will save Marion. I will destroy Mr. X. Hey, you guys want to do some warm-ups before we shoot? You look familiar.
Really?
Let's get out of here.
With Josh knocked out, the boss carries him all the way to the parking garage, whilst fighting off the guards in a pretty frustrating section if you're not careful, as your movement is quite limited, making it much harder to avoid taking damage. Once they arrive at the parking garage, the boss forces Josh into the car at gunpoint, and they all escape to the Saints HQ, whilst being pursued by Stag soldiers, and on the way, Josh is quite chill with his kidnapping. After the boss lets him know that he will get to see Shawnee again, as we all know he's madly in love with her for some reason. Shortly arriving at the Saints HQ and successfully kidnapping the face of Stag, which does not make Monica Hughes happy whatsoever.
Get me Monica Hughes. They have Burke.
What? Well, find him, goddammit!
I assure you, ma'am, we'll get him back.
It seems that Josh has adjusted well to his kidnapping, as when we head back to the Saints HQ, we witness him expressing his love towards Shawnee, and of course she's moments away from killing him, but she has to hold on to her urge a little longer as it's time to prepare a trap against Stag. Oh yeah, I know Oleg messes up his chess game against Pierce on purpose, which is quite funny. I mean, for someone so intelligent like Oleg, I'm surprised he hasn't beaten Pierce in a singular move, but maybe Pierce is a chess champion in his spare time, and that's where all his intelligence points have went to. Anyways, before the boss heads over to the PR center to draw Stag's attention, Pierce asks him if he knows how to use a Molotov, which goes as well as expected.
I don't know, man. The bottle with a rag concept is hard to wrap my mind around.
Jesus, I was just asking.
So with the complex Molotovs, the boss heads over to the PR center, burns down the Stag banners, and quickly heads back to the HQ, and on the way, Oleg informs him that he's rigged a few car bombs outside the HQ and to be careful not to set them off. Moments later, the boss arrives back at the HQ and heads up the elevator ready for the Stag onslaught in a huge battle to the death, starting with setting off car bombs when Stag get close and defending the north side of the building with an RPG, till Viola starts getting overwhelmed by the incoming soldiers, forcing us to help her out and defend the south side by triggering more car bombs and taking out a few snipers. With the south defended, the boss heads back to the north as a couple of tanks start approaching, so the boss gets to work and destroys them shortly before Pierce arrives, forcing us to head outside and save him as per usual. Trust me, this part frustrated me way too much than I'd like to admit. I was moments away from throwing my controller through my monitor, I swear. After saving Pierce, the two head back inside the HQ and continue the fight against Stag, but this time with a new airstrike weapon, courtesy of Pierce, which is insanely powerful, as it has infinite ammo and does a lot of damage, destroying tanks and VTOLs with ease, but it does take quite a while for the airstrike to fire on the intended target. A few airstrikes later, Stag breaks into the building and are quickly dealt with, but it isn't enough as the Saints can't hold on any longer, forcing everyone to head up to the penthouse where the boss comes face to face with Cyrus himself.
Surrender, kid. We got the perimeter.
Yeah? We got your poster boy.
I want Stag out of my city.
Not gonna happen. Stag's mission is to eradicate the gangs in Steelport. But where to focus the firepower is my call. Release Burke and we'll hammer the Syndicate for a while. Give you boys a little breathing room.
How you want to play it?
So now we have a choice. Hand over Josh to Stag to receive city takeover assistance, which auto-completes everything within whatever specific district you choose, which is insanely helpful for the 100% of game players out there, or keep him with the Saints, which unlocks Nightblade as a homie. Because Shawnee absolutely hates Josh and would probably end up killing him anyway, I chose to give Stag their poster boy back, which of course ends as well as you'd expect, as Cyrus orders his soldiers to fire on the penthouse anyway, forcing the boss to jump off the penthouse before it's destroyed. But it's far from over yet, as Stag are planning another approach to gain leverage on the Saints.
Kia, do you read me?
I see congratulations are in order, Commander.
Not quite. The Saints are still at large. I'm sending some intel over. I need leverage on the Saints. Bring in the target for questioning.
They're going to run to ground. Digging them out won't be easy.
If it were easy, I wouldn't waste your time.
Understood, sir. I'll find her.
I find it quite funny that despite the penthouse getting literally blown up, you can still continue to use it as a crypt. They definitely should have had it locked for the rest of the game, as that would have made way more sense than it still being usable. Either way, the fight against the Syndicate doesn't stop just because Stag are involved, as Kinsey contacts the boss to inform him that she's been tracking the Decker's movements and that a big problem has came up, so the boss quickly heads over to the diner alongside Shawnee to meet up with Kinsey and see exactly what the problem in question is.
Footage has come to light, and with us live, the man responsible, Eddie Kilbane Pryor. Thanks for being here, Eddie.
My pleasure, Jane. And please, call me Kilbane.
Very well. Kilbane, there are some who claim you're a criminal.
No, Jane, my dear, please. The Saints are criminals. Call me eccentric, but I'm just an entertainer slash businessman slash philanthropist slash...
We get it.
So that was what Kilbane was planning earlier, to smear the Saints' name on live television, which is quite a well thought out plan considering the Saints are well-known celebrities, but obviously not thought out enough, as Kinsey will be able to find their location if the boss and Shawnee place transmitters at each of the radio towers. So the duo does just that, planting 2 separate transmitters at the radio towers and finally using a laser signal tracker on the broadcast fan to uncover Kilbane's location. With the interview location in hand, the boss flies over to the abandoned office building, and on the way calls into the interview to threaten Kilbane over the phone, sending casual threats such as tearing out his eyes and whatnot, you know, the usual psychotic boss rants. After a short flight, the duo finally arrive at the office building and clear out all the deckers in their way, eventually talking to Jane Valderrama herself, and after she compliments our charming looks, she informs the boss that Kilbane is heading north, so the duo quickly hop back in the chopper and catch up to Kilbane, but it goes about as well as you would expect.
Gotcha. Damn it! What did you do?
What did I do? I don't fucking know!
Learn to fucking fly!
You alright?
I had him!
I know, it's not your fault. Something weird happened. Oh, shit.
Good old Matt Miller ruining the fun and increasing the runtime of the overall story. Cheers, mate. But lucky for me, I actually like this game. Against Kinsey's word, the boss and Pierce head to her place to be filled in on the next step in taking down the Deckers. Also finding out that Matt used the EMP to take down the chopper, which resulted in Kilbane's escape. So to stop him from causing even more damage, like connecting to the central power grid, Kinsey has a plan that involves stealing the Stag computer.
That's one of the most powerful learning computers in North America, and Stag's got one.
Thanks for the tip, Agent Kensington.
Damn it!
I found Matt Miller to not be as intimidating as the other gang leaders in the syndicate, but after finding out that bro is only 16 years old, yes, 16, it made way more sense why he's not intimidating. By the way, he's also voiced by Yuri Lowenthal, who voiced Shogo Akuji in the last Saints Row game, and Spider-Man in the PlayStation games, which is pretty cool. Whilst at Kinsey's hideout, we find out that she's clearly freaky in the bedroom, and we come across a cool newspaper Easter egg talking about Zombie Lynn. I honestly love these callbacks to previous games. Anyways, considering Matt's Decker goons are on the way to the Stag computer as we speak, the boss and Pierce quickly make their way to the PR center where the computer is located, and once they arrive, the duo fight for a ton of Deckers, clearing out the entire lobby whilst Matt and Kinsey have an argument that you would expect to come from 2 computer nerds. Yeah, it's kinda cringe, but it does remind me of myself, so I'll let it slide. With the lobby cleared, the duo head down to the parking garage to take out even more Deckers and steal a tank, despite Kinsey explaining that she doesn't want a tank to go anywhere near the computer. I mean, to be honest, using a tank is way better than potentially letting the Deckers get away with the computer anyway. Now when the tank, the duo chase after the truck whilst getting cussed out by Kinsey, popping the truck's wheels and successfully stealing the computer for themselves.
Oh, man.
So you said, right?
Almost. I need a chair.
I'll give you $50. Pick out a nice one.
Funny. I'll explain it all once this thing's set up.
With everything set up, all they need now is a chair, so the boss heads back to Kinsey's place alongside Oleg, and Kinsey proceeds to explain exactly what she's going to do once they acquire a Nemo chair, or whatever that is, which of course the Deckers have. We also witness Oleg and Kinsey bond over the nerdy information, which will definitely snowball into something romantical in the future. So before they actually take the chair, the boss and Kinsey need to head to the nuke plant and disable the external power uplinks to the main building, as if they don't and just try to steal the chair, it will fry its circuitry. Of course, it can never be simple. On the way, the boss actually tries to bond with Kinsey over music, where we find out that she's actually into hardcore gangster rap, which is not surprising in the slightest. After a short drive, the boss protects Kinsey while she hacks 3 separate uplinks, and with the uplinks disconnected, the duo hop in the chopper and fly above the main cooling tower where the chair is located, forcing the boss to parachute into said cooling tower, and once inside, he disables each one of the routers connected to the chair whilst fighting off waves waves and waves of Deca goons in a pretty cool looking area. Like, seriously, I love the environmental design in this game, especially in these type of areas with the neon lights and such. With all 4 routers disabled, the Nemo chair now belongs to us along with the stronghold. So now it's time to finally face Matt head on in one of the best missions this game has to offer. Well, not in real life though, but in virtual reality. Yep, that's right, Kinsey uses the chair to upload the boss's subconscious to the virtual space Matt created, a visual representation of the Deca Usenet. But once inside, Kinsey is in the process of making our avatar, so we're stuck running around as a toilet, which then upgrades to a blow-up doll, till Kinsey finally creates the avatar, equipping the boss with a cyber buster weapon, which is beyond satisfying to use against the virtual reality goons, especially when you use a charged shot. And I've got to say once again, the environmental design here is gorgeous. It truly reminds me of Tron, but in its own unique way, and that is a huge positive. Anyways, the boss fights his way towards the firewall, but on the way, Matt starts messing around with the world and the controls, considering this is his kingdom, making the movement slow, but it doesn't stop us as the boss arrives at the firewall, but to pass through, he's forced to complete a text adventure. Remember those? Yeah, me neither. After completing the text adventure, the boss fights his way to the antivirus, all whilst Matt messes with us again, changing us back into a toilet and making me relive my days living back at home with god-awful Wi-Fi, making me lag all over the place. But despite the setback, the boss overcomes it and takes out the Decas and the last bit of antivirus code, which turns out to be an old school top-down tank. Yeah, you can tell the devs were just having a blast making this mission, but unfortunately, I don't resonate too much with these throwbacks as I grew up in the early 2000s. I will admit this tank section did annoy me, considering the controls just feel so janky, and it took me way too long to destroy the enemy tank. Anyways, with the antivirus down, the boss fights some more, but this time towards the internet security, and once again, Matt messes with the world, changing us back to a blow-up doll and inverting our controls. But just like the previous times, the boss still overcomes the challenges, and we find out that Matt is a huge Nightblade fan, as this place is modeled after a place in one of the episodes. Matt is a nerd through and through, and I love it. Yes, I'm a huge Twilight fan, I know, pretty sad. Anyways, after taking out the Decas, Matt has one last trick up his sleeve.
Okay, don't panic. We can work this out. Probably.
Probably. You not sure?
Kinsey manages to debug the error screen, allowing the boss to confront Matt at the cathedral, but unfortunately, he's not his goth cyberpunk self, but a dragon-like creature wielding a huge sword.
Fuck.
Don't you get it? I'm God.
That's just fine. In the real world, you're just a bitch with a keyboard.
I kinda feel like he's talking about me. Despite the clear disadvantage with Matt donning his dragon avatar and still messing around with the world, making us tiny and many other annoying things, the boss manages to hold his own against Matt's avatar, even ripping off his wings till Kinsey copies Matt's avatar, allowing the boss to engage in a more fair fight, gaining access to a badass sword, shockwave attacks, and flame breath. Oh my god, this mission is just pure art. After an intense quick time event against Matt, the boss finally defeats him, and unsurprisingly, Matt gives up and bargains with the boss once again.
Bye, Matt.
I can clear your name. Prove that you didn't destroy that bridge.
I'm sure Kinsey can figure it out.
I literally have the world at my fingertips.
It's a little vague, Matt. Gotta do better.
You tell me the name of a company, and it becomes the property of the Saints. You get your empire back, and I get to walk away.
Kid, now we talking.
So we have yet another choice, gain a discount on vehicle customization or a discount on weapon upgrades. I mean, it's a pretty easy choice. Of course, I'm going to pick weapon upgrades. A lot of people give shade to the writers of Saints Row III for allowing the boss to spare Matt, but to be honest, Matt is a literal teenager, so it makes sense that they wouldn't want to have the main character take him out. Also, Matt is not much of a threat really, as he's just a nerd behind the screen, not a true ruthless villain like Killbane. Considering the Decas are now finished in Steelport, Matt decides to leave the criminal alive and never look back.
I really wish you'd reconsider, Matty. These hands of mine were meant to rend bone, not hunt and peck on a keyboard.
Well, if typing's the issue, I can recommend some good voice recognition software. I know the best...
Shh. You stuck with me when I rose from Philippe's ashes like a phoenix. You and me, we've bonded.
That's lovely, but I feel it's time for me to move on. To be honest, I'm a little scared of, well, dying.
I do run a demanding workplace. Maddie, I appreciate how you shared your concerns. I mean, the way Viola and Kiki handled their departures made me just want to kill someone, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I've got a flight to catch, so...
Maddie,
Oh, God.
feel free to list me as a reference anytime.
I can't lie, Matt is lucky that Kilbane didn't give him the Kiki treatment. With the Deckers out the picture, Shawnee calls up the boss to express her concerns about Viola, as she obviously used to run the Morning Star, but the call gets cut short as Shawnee is kidnapped by Kia. So the boss quickly calls up Pierce to inform him on what happened and tells him to head over to Images Design, as he has a plan which involves good old plastic surgery. At Images Design, the boss, Pierce and Viola go over the plan, which involves the boss getting plastic surgery to look exactly like Cyrus, and the other two acting as prisoners, which is quite a creative plan if I do say so myself. Once the plastic surgery is completed, the boss literally looks and sounds exactly like Cyrus. I have no clue what the plastic surgeons are smoking, but this is state-of-the-art work. Surely this plan can't fail. After a short and hilarious drive, the trio hop in a Vito and fly over to the thermoplay, I have no clue how to say that word, to go undercover and break Shawnee out.
Next time, you get to be the fucking prisoner. Quiet.
Welcome back, sir.
What's up?
I need you to sign off on some prototypes I've been working on.
Thanks for the offer, but I want to process these two ASAP.
I can take these two down to detention for you, sir.
Thanks.
What the fuck, man?
Did you look at the commander?
With Viola and Pierce now in prison alongside Shawnee, the boss follows Kia and they engage in one of the funniest conversations in this game, as the boss makes advances towards Kia Cyrus.
Police uniforms leave too much to the imagination.
Excuse me, sir?
Kia also explains that Stag have new prototypes waiting to be approved. Upgrades to the Stag tank, a Stag jet bike, and satchel chargers, but only 2 of them can be approved. Of course, I chose the satchel chargers and bike because who likes tanks? Probably some people, but me personally, nah, I'd rather take the hoverbike. Unfortunately, moments later, Cyrus himself contacts Kia to inform her that he's on his way back, which blows the boss's cover, resulting in the entire place being on high alert, forcing the boss to fight his way to the brig and freeing his friends. With everyone freed, it's time to leave this place. Well, after heading to the reactor room and destroying the console, in turn destroying the entire carrier, which leaves the trio with about 3 minutes to escape. After running through the exploding carrier, the trio hijack a Vito and get the hell out of there. Easy stuff.
This one's going in the book.
We might have overdone it.
Now we can focus on Kilbane.
What about Stag?
We just blew up an aircraft carrier. What else could they throw at us?
You knew it would come to martial law, didn't you?
I knew the Saints. How did Mayor Reynolds react?
They'll fall in line. They all will.
Keep me updated, Commander.
Of course, ma'am.
Sir, the commandos are en route. We'll have the whole city locked down in 72 hours.
Outstanding. Thank you, Kia.
Permission to speak freely? It's about damn time we took off the kid gloves.
2 little words, Kia. Shock and awe.
Now that martial law is declared in Steelport, it makes the city a whole lot more difficult to navigate, with the raised bridges and increased Stag soldiers on the streets. But a cool detail is the random Saints protesters outside the Saints HQ. I honestly love small details like this. It truly makes the world feel like it's adapting to what's happening in the story. With Shawnee finally safe and back with the Saints, Kinsey contacts the boss as she has just found out that a shipment of Stag equipment is headed towards Steelport in a cargo plane escorted by VTOLs. So before the cargo plane can arrive in Steelport, the boss meets up with Viola to steal some of the goods on that plane.
There's probably an easier way to do this.
No doubt.
safe. Now inside the plane, the boss gets stopped by a locked gate, forcing him to head back and find a weapon to destroy the gate. After searching a couple of weapons crates, he finally finds a weapon that will do the job, the Sonic Boom, which is a pretty cool weapon that will be utilized in a couple more missions moving forward. And of course, it's as overpowered as you would imagine, as it literally obliterates enemies up close with a fully charged shot. Anyways, with this new weapon in hand, the boss destroys the locked gate with ease, and when he reaches the cockpit, he blasts open the door, which of course sends the plane crashing down. Why would you even use that thing on the cockpit when it's turning enemies into nothingness? Either way, the boss has no choice but to escape the cargo plane before it crashes, and he does this by hopping in a tank. This game just gets crazier and crazier as we go along, but trust me, you haven't seen anything yet. The boss takes out a couple of stag troops, tanks, and VTOLs whilst falling through the air in his own tank, but the plane starts heading his way, so he has the bright idea of hopping back into the plane, which unfortunately doesn't work, as one of the plane's wings gets destroyed, forcing him to hop back into the tank before he hits the ground.
Fuck my life.
Yep, zombies. Is it just me, or do I love how over the top this game actually is? Like, yes, I do love the seriousness that both the first two games had, but the ridiculousness of the third game just makes me laugh in a really good way. The addition of zombies does make sense though, due to the popularity of zombies in media at the time, and the fact that they already added zombies in both games with the zombie homies, and Zombie Limb being a part of the actual Saints Row lore. So it's not too far-fetched to just chuck a bunch of zombies into the SR3 story. Anyways, Viola contacts the boss to inform him that she set up a meeting with the mayor of Steelport, as it could be very beneficial for the Saints to have the mayor on their side, but considering the boss's dark past with mayors, he's very reluctant to meet him, but the boss meets with the mayor anyway.
What are we waiting for?
We're not walking in there until you promise to play nice.
Are you serious?
Repeat after me. Don't fuck with the mayor.
Look, sweetie, I'll fuck with whoever I want to fuck with. I mean, who does this guy think he is?
Viola, is this the kid you were talking about?
Burt fucking Reynolds?
Who else could keep this town running? Besides, I love my constituents.
Sir, I'm a huge fan.
Excuse me, honey. Viola says the Saints are the new game in town. If that's the case, I want in.
Yeah, great. What do you need?
I got a zombie problem that I want.
Wait, a what problem?
Zombies.
You mean metaphorically, the celebrity-obsessed media-drugged masses, yes?
This ain't Los Angeles.
I'll tell you about it later.
You knew about this?
So what do you say, kid?
Undead cleanup ain't exactly in our wheelhouse, but we'll give it a whirl. Aren't you worried about pissing off Stag?
You're acting like I never had to outsmart a paramilitary organization before. Call me when it's done.
Oh my god, this guy's fucking awesome.
Stop being a fanboy.
Yep, Burt Reynolds is the mayor and actually voices himself, which is quite cool. I'm sure that's a huge detail for fans of Burt Reynolds, just like the boss, but I will admit, I had no idea who this guy was before this game. Call me uncultured, but I'm only 23 years old. So to help the mayor with the zombie problem, the boss and Viola head over to the quarantine zone, and all they need to do is find 3 containers leaking the zombie virus into the air and submerge them in water to neutralize them, which sounds pretty easy, but trust me, it's far from it, as we're equipped with a goofy looking gas mask and the sonic boom weapon to push the containers into the water, being faced against hordes of zombies that can outnumber you so easily. And did I mention the speed in which they run is honestly ridiculous, but the sonic boom weapon helps a lot with the hordes, so it does make this mission a whole lot more bearable. After submerging the first container, Viola calls for help, but she's overwhelmed with a zombie horde, so the boss hauls ass to a location to save her. I never thought I'd say this about not a Saints Row game, but this mission was insanely creepy, and I was on the edge the entire time while I was playing through it, especially with the eerie music. After saving Viola, the boss takes care of the second container, but unfortunately his mask breaks, forcing the duo to head to a nearby rim jobs before the boss is turned into a zombie, and we already feel the effects of him turning as the screen starts getting trippy. After a short detour, the duo finally arrive at rim jobs, but we're forced to protect Viola while she repairs the mask, and as the boss is about to become one of the living dead, Viola finally fixes the mask, allowing the duo to continue on to submerge the last container. Now that the containers are dealt with, there's only a chemical truck left to dispose of, but as the boss makes his way to the chemical truck, Oleg contacts him and suggests they double cross the mayor and use the truck to make zombie homies to fight alongside them, which is absolutely insane. So we're faced with a choice: return the zombie virus to Oleg and unlock zombie homies, or destroy the virus and unlock Burt Reynolds and the SWAT team as homies, alongside gaining the ability to wipe law enforcement notoriety by simply calling the mayor. Considering we want the mayor on the Saints side, I chose to destroy the virus like any normal person would.
Commander, what the hell are you doing?
There have been some complications, Senator.
Complications? Don't talk to me about complications. I want results.
You want results? Then authorize the use of the data list.
Even if Congress got on board, Homeland Security would never allow it. This is out of control. I am coming to Steelport.
Zombies and Monica Hughes?
Despite the virus being destroyed, zombies stay in that area for the remainder of the game, and even after you beat the story, which is kinda weird to be honest, but whatever, I'm not going to think about it too much. Now that the zombie problem is taken care of, it's time to finally take the fight to Killbane. So the boss meets up with the rest of the team at the broken Shillelagh to plan exactly how they're going to get close to Killbane.
Alright, I'm done fucking around. I want Killbane.
You want to hurt Killbane? You gotta hurt his reputation.
So, what, we humiliate him?
Can't we just kill the bastard?
Take Killbane's mask and all that's left is Eddie Pryor. It's worse than killing him.
I don't know, this is more Angel's thing.
Killbane would never agree to fight Angel.
He's more scared of Angel than me?
Yeah, no offense, but you're kind of ridiculous.
Relax. You're gonna look hot in the Speedo.
So, to have the chance to face Killbane in the ring and take his mask, the boss needs to take out the competition by causing them to have accidents. And how will he do that? Well, by using the RC Possessor, where the boss can take control of any vehicle. So the first wrestler on our hit list is Merle Roberts, and the boss uses the RC on his car to make him run over a couple of pedestrians and drive straight into a fuel pump at a gas station. The next target is Christopher the Clubber Johnson, who is chilling on his boat. So the boss takes control of his boat and crashes it into a beach party, sending him to hell. The third target is Trash Can Teddy, who is currently in a helicopter, so the boss takes control of a separate chopper and flies it straight into Teddy's helicopter, taking care of him. The last target is El Presidente, but unfortunately, he isn't as easy to take out as the previous wrestlers, as he reached out to Stag for protection, as he was afraid that Killbane would try to kill him before the match. So the boss takes control of a few Stag tanks to take out the final victim in the unfortunate series of accidents. After each death, Jane Valderrama reports on the wrestlers, resulting in some hilarious commentary about their deaths, showing that the quote accidents are working and fooling the citizens of Steelport. With the competition now out of the picture, the boss challenges Killbane to a fight at Murder Brawl 31.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Stillwater Butcher has graced us with their presence.
You want to fight the best? You fight me.
The best? The best is beating Sway the Spider God in a Tijuana scaffold match. The best is defending the world title 13 times in one night. The best is winning a last man standing match with 2 broken legs! Trust me, little Icarus. You're flying too close to the sun.
Oh my God. Quit being a bitch and put your mask up.
If you want to be broken by the walking apocalypse, I will gladly oblige you.
Moments later, Angel calls the boss to let him know that he doesn't want him to fight Killbane, as Angel wants his chance at redemption for what Killbane did to him years ago, taking his mask and his pride. So now it's time to take Angel's mask back at the 3 Point Casino, but first he needs to earn it by destroying a bunch of slot machines and interrogating the manager to find where the mask is, which turns out to be in a vault. Once at the vault, Angel reclaims his mask, and to give Killbane a nice gift before he gets his ass handed to him at Murder Brawl 31. The boss destroys a few statues that takes out all of the luchadors in the casino, taking over the casino for the 3rd Street Saints. Now it's time for the main event, Murder Brawl 31, which is yet again another iconic mission that I will forever remember this game for.
Eddie Killbane Pryor, the walking apocalypse himself. You can't help but wonder how the Stillwater Butcher can't compete.
I'll tell you, Zach, this psycho is a complete whack job. You know, when he came out of the womb, this guy literally choked out the doctor with his own umbilical cord. He's that fucking sick.
I'll be ringside keeping luchadors off your ass while you finish Killbane. Good luck, man.
Well, there it is, Bobby. The Saints receiving no love here.
Not at all. It is raining hate down where they are, and of course it is. After what their capo did to Stillwater, they're lucky the fans aren't knifing them on their way to the ring. Wait, oh my God, look at that! It's Angel de la Muerte!
Angel de la Muerte, the second half of Pale Riders, sometimes regarded as the herald of a walking apocalypse. The youngest wrestler to ever win the Super K-Cup is here in the Steel Court Arena.
History is writing itself tonight, Zach. After his questionable loss to Killbane years ago, Angel dropped off the face of the earth. If you're a fan of Murder Brawl, this is shaping up to be the best night of your life.
So whilst Angel faces Killbane in the ring, the boss defends the ring from incoming luchadors, but unfortunately, after a reverse move from Killbane, he throws Angel out of the ring. And then out of nowhere, the boss is handed a chainsaw. What the hell? And the boss goes to town on ways of luchadors to protect Angel, but after the luchadors are dealt with, we find out that Angel's leg is broken, so the boss has no choice but to finish off the job and jumps into the ring, finally coming face to face with Killbane in the match of a lifetime, where the boss slaps Killbane around like it's nothing, even riding him around whilst punching his head. Like seriously, this boss fight is way too easy for a villain that was set out to be so intimidating. After literally destroying Killbane and getting him in a chokehold, Killbane begs the boss not to take his mask as it will destroy him, giving us a choice: to spare Killbane and receive his Apocalypse weapon, which are just massive fists that you're probably going to just use once, but to be honest, they're overpowered as hell, or unmask him, which grants you his mask, which sets people on fire whilst taunting them. Of course, I chose to unmask the absolute loser with a receding hairline because we came here to break him after all.
Smile, Killbane. We're going nationwide.
Oh, wow. It's shades of Angel de la Muerte as Killbane has been demasked.
Yes, we have seen the face of the walking apocalypse, and to be honest, it's a man with a receding hairline. What a night, Zach. What a night.
Killbane, it's just a match.
It's my fucking reputation! This is my city. I am its Caesar! And I get to fiddle while it burns.
Now that Killbane's pride has been ripped away from him, the boss swings by the HQ, and Pierce informs him that Legal Lee has been in touch, wanting the boss to do a screen test for gangsters in space. But then their conversation is interrupted by a crashing veto, which once again ruins Oleg and Pierce's chess game that they will never complete. Steelport is now a war zone, with the luchadors stag at each other's throats, so the trio have no choice but to get it under control before the city is completely destroyed, which involves fighting a ton of stag and luchador goons at 3 separate battle locations, which is easily the most drawn out section this entire game. And I'd suggest being well equipped and upgrade as much as you can before this mission, otherwise you ain't surviving. After clearing out 2 of the battle locations, Kinsey informs the boss that a ton of stag and luchadors are currently at the armory, so the trio quickly head over there and clear out the area, all whilst they pour their hearts out in case they don't survive, with Oleg explaining he is in love with Kinsey and the boss explaining that he has an irrational fear of bees, which is quite funny. With the armory cleared, Angel contacts the boss to inform him that Killbane is currently escaping at the airport, but then Kia herself contacts the boss to let him know that she's rigged the Magara Islands with explosives to frame the Saints as domestic terrorists, with Shawnee and Viola being tied up there too. So we have a choice: eliminate Killbane or save Shawnee. It's not that tough of a decision if you really think about it, but first let's go with the bad ending, eliminating Killbane. Because the boss can't let Killbane win, he meets up with Angel and they chase after Killbane's plane, blowing it up with an RPG reminiscent of the final mission in the Lost the Carnales mission in the first game.
Oh, fuck me.
So here we are.
Two titans among men, worshipped by mere mortals for bringing them blood and fire. This moment was an inevitability.
So's me killing you.
No. That's not how this book is written. The Saint's legacy ends here, not with a bang, but with a whimper.
You for real? It's over, Eddie. In 2 weeks, no one's gonna remember your name.
No one will remember me. You were a fucking clown, selling energy drinks and lunchboxes. You didn't care about the crowd, just a paycheck. And I changed that.
Bullshit.
Mark my words. When these hands are crushing your throat, your dying breath won't be an appeal to God or a message of love to your family. It'll be, thank you, Kilbane.
Man, I'm gonna enjoy shutting you up.
In a badass quick time event, the boss takes out Kilbane once and for all, snapping his neck and putting an end to the Syndicate, but was it really worth it? The Margaret Island blows up, killing both Shawnee and Viola and framing the Saints, which results in Pierce asking the boss if he made the right choice, and Monica Hughes giving Cyrus the word to bring in the Daedalus he desperately wanted to launch. Honestly, you can see how the boss regrets his decision after taking out Kilbane, clearly feeling empty, sacrificing one of his oldest friends and the Saints' reputation just to finish off the Syndicate. Either way, what's done is done, and the boss meets up with the rest of the Saints at the Broken Shillelagh to have a toast in memory of Shawnee, Viola, and Gat.
We lost a lot of friends getting to where we are, and that's never easy. But at least we know that wherever Gat is, he's got friends giving St. Peter some hell, huh? Tashandi.
Tashandi!
Oh my god. Well, if they blow up every building, we're bound to be in one of them.
Fuck that. We breaking their little toy.
With no choice but to finish off Stag as they are about to level the city to get rid of the street gangs, even though they're literally taking out civilians in the process, the boss grabs a chopper and flies over to the Daedalus, destroying its cannons and planting bombs around the ship. With the bombs planted, Cyrus himself shows up in a veto, forcing the boss to take him out before the Daedalus explodes in a pretty easy boss fight that takes little to no skill to complete. After taking out Cyrus once and for all, the boss escapes the Daedalus, preventing Steelport from being destroyed.
Kinsey, round up every saint we can find. We're going on a field trip.
Even in a place that is no stranger to violence, today's assault on the city stands as the blackest time in Steelport's sordid history. While the government has yet to comment on the attack, we have a report.
No one runs, no one gets shot, understand? Sorry. Kinsey, you in the booth?
All set.
I got a message from Monica Hughes and her stooges. Dear bitch, Steelport is under new management and we don't answer to you. This is foreign soil now. Come at my city again and you go home in a fucking box. Back to you.
Not bad. You could be a weatherman or some shit.
I may have laid it on a little thick.
You did just create a city-state.
Good point.
Now that Steelport is a city-state, it needs a new mayor, and who better to be the mayor of Steelport than Mr. Pierce Washington? Credits roll. Yeah, this ending isn't the best, so let's quickly move on to the good ending. So with no choice but to save Shawnee, as saving your friends are more important than finishing some beef of a man who is already defeated, the boss makes his way to the statue and removes all 8 bombs with the sonic boom weapon, also saving Saints members along the way whilst holding out for a hero by Bonnie Tyler blasts in the background. Absolute cinema, I swear. With the bomb safely removed from the statue, the boss makes his way up to the top to confront Kia, who is holding Shawnee hostage, forcing the boss to utilize an old tactic of his, throwing flashbangs, well in my case stink bombs, to stun Kia and land a few shots on her till she's finished. Reminiscent of the veteran child mission in the previous game, but 100 times easier. Like seriously, it took me less than 30 seconds to eliminate Kia.
Let's go home.
Hold it right there.
Unless the next thing out of your hole is thank you, we got a serious fucking problem.
They have a point, Commander. Like it or not, the Saints are heroes.
Are you shitting me, lady?
You declared martial law and knocked down half the city. The Saints just saved a treasured monument. Who the fuck do you think the public will side with? Yes, I can answer any questions. Jimmy over there.
They can give you the key to the goddamn city, but as soon as you screw up, we'll be back. And next time, Stag is gonna put you down.
Oh, I love you too, Cyrus.
So what's the play, boss? We go back to banging in Stillwater?
Not yet.
Hi, people. When we started tracking down this son of a bitch, we said we'd follow him to the ends of the earth. And we did. Killbane is readying his army for an all-out attack. We will stop him here. Our planet needs us. Let's not let her down.
Now that the 3rd Street Saints are on Mars, yes, I know, absolutely insane, the boss fights his way to Killbane's lair and disables force fields along the way as each of his teammates die. In the end, he comes face to face with Killbane himself in his lair and engages in a boss fight where you have to shoot lava crystals to stun Killbane and perform QTEs to damage his suit, finally grabbing a large crystal and driving it through his chest.
I came to Mars to make a living. Keep my head down. Stay out of trouble. But I found something. But I found something that... Shh, damn it. Line.
Cut!
Sorry, you get it next time.
Yeah, so this is the Gangsters in Space movie, which is a fitting end for the good ending, leaving it on a fun, positive note, but I'm sure people already saw this coming from the terrible, corny voice acting throughout the fight to Killbane's lair. Oh yeah, and Johnny being alive too. Credits roll. Now that the main story of SR3 is complete, there's still a lot that the city of Steelport has to offer, such as diversions, which include assassinations, which are similar to the Hitman activity from the last game, where you head to a specific location and follow some instructions to draw out the target, like blasting a specific radio station from your car. Vehicle thefts, which is just a chop shop activity where you once again head to a specific location and steal a certain type of car, taking it back to a garage. Challenges that you just do naturally as you play through SR3, base jumping where you parachute and land in the target area, stunt jumps which are just stunt jumps, you already know what they are, survival, barnstorming where you fly under bridges, streaking where you run around in your birthday suit shocking nearby pedestrians, car surfing where you surf and perform handstands on top of cars, mugging where you rob people in the street for some cash, store holdups where you rob stores, and finally the hostage diversion returns, but I couldn't get any gameplay for it as for some reason every passenger jumped out of the car before I could even start the activity. Unfortunately, there's not as much variety in the side activity part of SR3, which is disappointing to say the least, but considering they had to cut activities like fuzz due to the new game engine creating problems, it makes sense why a lot of the side activities from the previous game was left out. SR3 also has its fair share of Easter eggs to find too, such as the cabin making a return, but unfortunately it doesn't involve a fun paper trail, it's just chilling on the boat after being captured. Next we have the Mr. Toots Easter egg, which is a special weapon from Velicia's other title, Red Faction Armageddon, and is depicted on a couple shield emblems dotted around the Steelport Army base. Next we have a list of mission ships that could be found on random cargo ships across Steelport, but the ships listed aren't just any ordinary ships, as they're references to various games and movies such as Dead Space, Half-Life 2, 2 and Wall-E, amongst other things. On the same cargo ships, there's also a penguin that is impaled to the wall. I'm not sure what that's a reference to, maybe Madagascar, I don't know to be honest. I guess Volition loves ships this time around because there's also a Titanic Easter egg with 2 blow-up dolls performing the classic Titanic position, and the ship containing a map of Steelport with random markings, and references to SR2 with a news broadcast on the TV, a poster for the Stillwater Sharks, and CDs for the band Feed Dogs. Next we have a keyboard cat meme Easter egg at the SHHQ on a monitor, but instead of the usual keyboard cat, it's Johnny Cat. And finally we have 2 developer Easter eggs starting with Payne's Place, a little shack with a sign that reads Payne's Place keep off the mud. I saw a lot of people online mistake this Easter egg as a Max Payne reference, but it's actually a reference to Volition's lead weapons and prop artist called David Payne. Last but certainly not least, at the Let's Pretend store you can find a bunch of pictures of what I assume are the developers showing off various costumes in the store. You can honestly tell they had a lot of fun making this game. I mean, I would too, because this game is awesome. Like I stated earlier in the video, Saints Row the Third also has its plethora of DLC packs, which are mostly clothing packs, but SR3 also features story DLC, which are quite unique to say the least. Starting with the Genki Ball 7 DLC, which features brand new Genki themed activities for all the fans of the original, and as a fan of those, I can honestly say this is a great DLC. So pretty much the boss was selected to be a contestant for Genki Ball 7, which leads us to completing various Genki themed activities. First off, we have Apocalypse Genki, which is a more chaotic version of the usual Genki activity, this time including sharks and being jungle themed. But overall, it's fairly similar to the original Professor Genki's Super Ethical Reality Climax. God damn, that's a lot to say. Next, we have Super Ethical PR Opportunity, where the boss drives around Professor Genki, murdering pedestrians by running them over and using flamethrowers attached to the car to build a boost pleasure meter, because we all know Genki is fueled by violence. Next, we have Sexy Kitten Yarngasm, which reminds me a lot of Beautiful Katamari, where we control a massive ball of yarn and destroy things, also using a shockwave ability. Yeah, that's it. It's kind of like a way better version of the Mayhem activity. Finally, we have Sad Panda Skyblazing, which is definitely my favorite of all the new Genki activities, where the boss is dressed as a panda and skydives through the air, flying through rings of fire, bouncing on balloons, and landing on rooftops to chop up some mascots, all in the name of racking up cash. With all the Genki activities completed, the boss celebrates as the official Genki Ball 7 champion.
Would you believe it?
Did you see that? My goodness, a performance for the ages. I don't think I've ever witnessed something so remarkable.
Incredible. That was, without a doubt, the most amazing individual performance I've ever seen since Ping Pong Polly worked Thursday nights at Sable.
Oh, I remember that. Hey, Bobby, how about we go down to the lovely Tammy Tolliver, who is standing by with our new champion, Tammy.
Thanks, Zach. You know, over the years, you've had your doubters. Some have said you were just riding on the coattails of more accomplished people. Is this vindication for you?
Absolutely. Not just for me, but for all the kids out there watching at home thinking that they'll never make something out of themselves. Yeah, I just want to tell those kids, no matter what, work hard and anything is possible.
Oh, what a great message to end on. Well, Zach,
I spent years honing my craft. Murdering, robbing, assaulting, more murdering, light treason, murdering again, all so that when I got my shot, I would be ready.
That's, enlightening. But what?
You gotta follow your dreams, kids. Because if you don't, you know what happens? You're gonna become your parents. How fucking depressing would that be? Think about it.
The second story DLC is titled Gangsters in Space, but unfortunately, it's not more of us being on Mars and taking down Killbane. It's a new take on the Saints movie, I assume, or just the beginning of the same movie. I'm not sure, it doesn't really explain it. Anyways, the boss receives a call from the Hollywood director Andy Zhen, as he's been signed to direct the Gangsters in Space movie and wants the boss to be the main star of the movie, so with nothing better to do, the boss swings by the studio to practice his lines and meet his co-star.
I'm gonna kill that son of a bitch. I'm gonna kill that son of a bitch. I'm gonna kill that son of a bitch. That's just weird.
Excuse me? Oh, hi. I'm Jenny, and I just wanted to let you know that I'm so super excited right now.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Oh my god, are you kidding me? My first feature, and I'm starring opposite the leader of the Saints.
Well, I wouldn't get too worked up. On camera's more of a Shawnee Pierce thing. I'm having a hell of a time wrapping my head around this script.
Is the script a problem? Just say the word, baby, we'll toss it.
No, it's cool. I'm just, I'm gonna need cue cards like a motherfucker.
Brilliant. That's so fucking cinema verite. You're gonna kill it.
It's nice to meet you, Mr. Zhen.
Who is this extra and why is she talking to me?
Oh, Mr. Zhen, I'm playing Quilana.
Really? I thought we were getting a name for Quilana.
No, just me.
That's just fucking great. Look, Missy McNobody over here isn't gonna bring you down, I promise. I won't let her, okay? You just be yourself, you're gonna kill it! Alright, let's shoot this fucker!
So for the first scene, the boss's job is to rescue the alien princess from the military, which is simple enough, as he drives to the guard heliport and fights his way to save the princess, all while a cool movie style filter is turned on, which makes it truly feel like we're starring in an actual movie. Anyways, after saving Quilana, Zhen cuts the shoe and expresses his frustration and anger towards Jenny's acting skills, which is quite funny considering the boss is 100 times worse than Jenny, but the director chooses to pick on her because she's a nobody in his eyes, which is definitely a nods to the reputation of real-life movie directors. This abuse that the director throws towards Jenny continues on through the DLC in various different scenes, like the extremely long turret section fighting the military and aliens, resulting in the director making Jenny make an impossible jump that nobody could perform that he blames her for.
What the hell was that, Jemima? A child could have made that jump. A crippled child that was blind.
Nobody could have made that jump.
Listen, I'm really sorry. Please don't let this ruin our relationship. This is 100% the casting director's fault, I swear.
Are you crazy? He's the director.
That don't mean he can walk all over my ass. Or yours.
All right, let's reset and do that again.
Shutting down alien mind control machines whilst using cool alien laser weapons, and the boss improvising by using explosives, which the director doesn't care about till Jenny does the same, resulting in him improvising too by triggering a self-destruct system in the scene. And finally, a huge spaceship battle in the city where the director comes close to literally killing both the boss and Jenny in the name of cinema, showing his utter insanity. Throughout the course of the DLC, Jenny gets more and more angry with Zhen, even beating up her own replacements and learning to stick up for herself due to the boss's motivation and encouragement, which is quite nice of him to do and shows he's not just a gun-toting psychopath.
The Earth is safe. For now.
Stupid motherfucking stupid ass.
Quilana?
What the fuck is happening up there? Jenny, say your goddamn line!
We killed that son of a bitch.
That's not your line! Oh, goddamn it, are you even off book?
Hey, Jenny, you're getting the crazy eyes again.
Oh!
Okay, Jenny. Jenny, talk to me.
I'm tired. I'm tired of him trying to kill us. I'm tired of him being mean. And I'm tired of his stupid fucking scarf.
Okay. This seems a little extreme, though.
Just doing what you taught.
Point.
You already blew the tank! Go back to one! Are you dead? What the fuck do you think you're doing?
We're killing it.
Wow. So, guess that's a wrap.
All in all, a fitting end to the DLC, and they definitely cooked with this one. The final story DLC, which is definitely my favorite, is titled The Trouble with Clones, and as the title suggests, we're going to be dealing with clones, but not just any clone. A clone of Johnny Gat. Yeah, you heard that right. So the DLC starts off with an eerie retelling of how a Saints superfan called Jimmy cloned Johnny Gat with things such as his sunglasses, chewed up gum, and a greasy comb to acquire his DNA, but it obviously wasn't enough, as he created some kind of brute-like monster version of Gat, and unfortunately he's out in Steelport causing havoc. So after the superfan tells the boss and Pierce exactly what happens, they head out to find their best friend, well, a cloned version of him at least. First, the duo head over to Friendly Fire, as that would likely be a place Johnny would visit, and I will honestly say I adore the vibes that this DLC has with the grungy atmosphere and the superfan narrating the whole thing. It gives homage to superhero comics, which I absolutely love. Unfortunately, as the duo arrive at Friendly Fire, Gat is nowhere to be seen but the Morningstar are. So the boss interrogates a Morningstar lieutenant and finds out that the reason they're here is that they're hunting gats. So with no time left to lose, the duo drive over to Technically Legal as the superfan informs them that the police radio stated that there is currently a huge disturbance over there. After a short drive, the duo arrive and the boss interrogates the owner of the club for Gat's whereabouts, and apparently he ran off. But then a bunch of police officers start swarming the building, forcing the boss to fight them off, and in the midst of battle, Jimmy contacts him to let him know that he has a way to track Gats, so the boss continues to fight off the police till the superfan arrives, and after about 20 minutes of shooting, Jimmy finally arrives in his mum's car. Yeah, his mum's car. So inside Jimmy's mum's car, the boss fends off waves of cops using an RPG, whilst Jimmy tracks Gat, chasing after him in one of the longest car chase sequences known to man. Like seriously, why did it have to be this drawn out? And in an unsurprising turn of events, they lose him. But don't worry, the superfan has another trick up his sleeve, which involves Pierce dressing up as Aisha to calm him down. I'm not even joking. I just love this game, man. So with Pierce dressed up as Aisha and the boss in a beekeeper outfit, the trio hop in the Torbotron and head over to Planet Saints. On the drive over, Jimmy explains the plan. Pretty much because Pierce is a terrible, I mean great singer, he needs to see one of Aisha's songs to potentially calm Gat down. And because it's Fan Appreciation Day at each Planet Saints location, Gat may turn up to reconnect with the Saints, but the crowd is going to be a problem. So the boss will need to use a bee gun to hold off the fans from scaring Gat away. So with the plan in place, the trio arrive at Planet Saints, Pierce starts singing, and the boss keeps the crowd at bay, very similar to the crowd control activity from SR2. After a few minutes of defending the stage, Jimmy hears Gat at another Planet Saints location, so the trio quickly head over there and do the exact same thing as before, but Gat is actually there, and fortunately the plan actually starts working, till the Steelport guards show up, forcing the boss to take them out, but scaring Gat away. So the trio chase after him and find him being attacked by the Steelport guards, so the boss takes them out, revives his old buddy, and tries a different approach, using the bee gun on him to calm him down, and of course, it doesn't work. But Jimmy has one more trick up his sleeve. It turns out he cloned Aisha too? What the hell is even going on? This of course works because Aisha is the love of Gat's life, but then out of nowhere, Aisha gets killed for the second time, sending Gat on a full-blown rampage. Apparently Jimmy has yet another plan to calm down Gat, and asks the boss to head to his house, so the boss does just that and out of nowhere gets knocked out by Gat. But when he wakes up, he has superpowers. Yes, superpowers. Where we can super sprint, throw superpower punches that spawn comic book style text, which is quite a nice detail, and throw fireballs. Overall, a fun experience for the entire family and a short glimpse of what is to come in the sequel. The reason the boss now has powers is down to Jimmy giving the boss Saints flow that he modified that only lasts a short period of time. So with the brand new powers, the boss makes his way to multiple locations in order to find Gat and Pierce too, because he also kidnapped Pierce for some reason, using his powers to absolutely annihilate the Steelport guard and Morningstar, till he eventually locates Gat at the bridge. And of course, his superpowers run out at the exact same time. So with no superpowers, the boss hops in a chopper and defends Gat, or Tag in this case, from the Steelport guard using the trusty RPG till the boss finally manages to have a chance to reason with Gat and calm him down, which actually works after a short conversation where both the boss and Pierce remind him that they are friends, welcoming him back into the 3rd Street Saints.
The end. Question mark?
I seriously don't know how you could hate this DLC. It's an absolute blast. As for the extra modes in SR3, there's a co-op mode that I won't talk about because I have no friends, and there's a horde mode where you can choose from a few characters and 3 different maps. Overall, the horde mode is your typical take out a number of enemies in waves, but each wave is actually unique with the enemies you fight and the weapons you use, making it a pretty fun mode that most people probably never played. And speaking of never played, let's move on to some cancelled projects that never made it to Saints Row the 3rd. Starting with Money Shot. Saints Row Money Shot was an on-rail arcade spin-off designed to connect Saints Row 2 and the 3rd, where you control a bullet as an assassin called Cypher, taking out various targets across different stages using slow-mo and completing objectives, but the final stage is the most important, as it was an opportunity to finally kill Dex. Yep, the long-awaited end to the Dex character, but since it was cancelled, the fans never got to put a bullet between his eyes. And why was this spin-off cancelled? Well, it's down to THQ's financial issues and the closure of the development studio behind Money Shot. But they did add the Money Shot pack to the game instead, which is cool, I guess. Saints Row the 3rd itself also underwent a bunch of changes with the story, as the majority of games do, as in the Studio Edition guide for Saints Row the 3rd, they included a few original plot points that were unfortunately scrapped. The story went through many drastic changes over different drafts and scope reduction. Here are some of the biggest changes. The Syndicate used to be made up of 5 actors. Oleg wasn't cloned, he was a leg breaker for the Syndicate who joined the Saints Saints to be with his role model Josh Burke. Gat didn't die, he was captured and you saved him. Shawnee had a subplot that explored survivors' guilt and depression. Shawnee never appeared in the game at all, instead she was off filming a reality show in Mexico. At the end of the game, you would see her unwittingly on a date with Killbane without his mask on. Viola and Kiki both joined the Saints. The calamity that caused Stag to roll into town changed multiple times. Originally, Killbane set off a dirty bomb that totally cratered Stillwater. Then it was changed to the Syndicate destroyed Stillwater in the middle of a convention called SaintsCon, killing thousands of innocent people, as well as Tobias and Laura from Saints Row and Saints Row 2. Next, it was changed to the blowing up of the Saints Church during Gat's funeral. Finally, it ended up as the destruction of the bridge. There was a bonus cutscene planned after the bridge is destroyed where the Saints are singing a "We Are the World" type of song to raise money for Stillwater. In one story draft, if you chose to save Shawnee and Viola at the end of the game, there was a coda after the closing credits where Shawnee is at Gat's grave. She's upset that the Saints let Killbane get away and have gone back to being celebrities again. She is then recruited by Cyrus and joins Stag. Likewise, if you chose the other option to kill Killbane, there was a coda after the closing credits where an enigmatic figure was flying into Steelport on a Syndicate jet and the person accompanying him was Johnny Gat. There was also a planned $30 DLC expansion called Enter the Dominatrix that was being developed for Saints Row the Third after it was initially an April Fool's joke that turned into a real thing which involved superpowers, aliens, and a bunch more crazy stuff that eventually became the Saints Row 4 we know today, being a full-blown sequel rather than a shorter DLC expansion, which allowed the development team more resources to make a sequel, and the project itself was so ambitious to the point they had no choice but to make it into a full-fledged game. Well, that's what the publisher THQ thought, especially with their bad financial situation at the time, but we'll get more in depth with that in the next Saints Row video, especially with the original plans for SR4. Overall, Saints Row the Third is way better than everyone remembers and not as bad as people say. Yes, it has its flaws, and no, it doesn't quite live up to the second game in the franchise, but I can't lie and say that this game is bad. It's still an insanely fun game with many iconic missions that are forever implanted in my memory. Saints Row the Third is a certified classic and I will die on that hill. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching and consider liking and subscribing if you enjoy content like this. And as always, have a good rest of your day or night. Take care.
With fists like these, I don't even gotta pack no heat. You can't stop me, son.